FACELESS now. Ready and set. Black. Obviously battle ready. Up next. Show some love for Clutch Gamers!
Clutch Gamers only started late last December, participating in online scene tournaments and slowly risen up the ranks. The story of these ragtag Filipino players is all about grit and grind, starting from bottom, hiding under the shadow of other Pinoy teams to now become the absolute kings of Southeast Asia. They have lived up to their namesake, Manila. Be ready to welcome back their sons, Clutch Gamers.
Give it up as they come up on stage, Clutch Gamers! Make some noise! Game 2 is underway. We have FACELESS versus Clutch Gamers. Here we go!
That's right. One down, one to go. Team Secret has already been eliminated. Who is going to be the kings of the Southeast? Is it going to be Clutch Gamers or Team FACELESS? I have a panel with me. Freshen things up, I've got both Jack as well as Trent. Gentlemen, it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath, isn't it?
Yeah, this is one of the most exciting matchups that we're going to have here today. I would say when FACELESS was formed, you'd be hard-pressed to find a group or a team that could actually get a bigger roar from a crowd, but that just happened here with Clutch. I mean, these are some very exciting new faces who largely haven't even appeared on a LAN before.
You mentioned bloodbath, and we're talking about Dota, and especially these two teams that have played against each other quite frequently before this patch. This is our first showdown on this patch. If it's anything like the last patch, expecting to see a lot of action, as you said, Cap.
Yeah, we've seen Clutch Gamers, they've just been running the gauntlet through qualifier after qualifier, have seen a huge amount of success. Are they going to be able to translate that success here on the international stage in a big land like this?
As someone who's fairly familiar with how games go purely online,
yes, that's true.
There's a very different atmosphere here, right? I mean, these are some guys that they're used to this, right? FACELESS, they showed up to these lands. They've been there before. Yes, they still had their struggles. Yes, they were the gatekeepers who then seemed to not quite get that same panache once they were actually on the stage. Clutch are now facing the same thing with very little actual experience on the stage before.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. I think some teams, other people have mentioned this too, coming into their first major LAN international competition. It's a lot to adjust to. We've seen some teams, some regions struggle with that specifically. For example, IGV out of China, a very talented team online, were able to win a bunch of qualifiers, but then when they went to LAN, they seemed to struggle at basically every LAN performance. So we'll see if Clutch can overcome that and learn from that. And of course, they have a huge slew of LANs coming up, so a lot of opportunities to prove themselves.
Yeah, certainly, and taking a big forward step by being able to take out Team FACELESS here in your very first LAN would give you a lot of confidence moving forward, not just in this tournament, but the others. Of course, the winner of this has the trial to face against Team OGs. You're going to need a lot of confidence to go up against that big bad boy. But talking about Clutch Gamers specifically, if, being on LAN, getting a little nerves, getting a little jitters, right? Go with what's most comfortable for you. What is most comfortable for Clutch Gamers?
Well, we kind of saw it yesterday, I would say, just in terms of like this Troll Warlord is something they've been looking to a lot. In this specific matchup that we also had against FACELESS, where they played like 5 straight games against each other for those Epicenter qualifiers, we saw a ton of Abaddon too as well. So just kind of, they feel so scrappy, and that's kind of how you look at this team too. Ragtag, kind of newer guys on the block, and just trying to get those fighting heroes, take it to your opponent, and get that edge that you want to snowball into the rest of the game.
You mentioned scrappy. Talking to some other people about this team, they feel that it almost has a CIS feel to it. They want to fight all the time. They're very active on their 2 roaming supports. And the recent trend that we've seen from them, including from the last patch, is that they like to take that second pick. They managed to string together 2 combo heroes, usually a roamer early in the picks for Boombox, and then they like to have a better matchup mid, which we think is especially important on this patch as well, to try to control the pace. So when they get a hero like Queen of Pain, when they have good roamers, they're able to control the pace. That's how they snowball, and they'll keep taking it from there.
Now, normally when we talk about teams that are pretty aggressive, like to be able to fight a lot, we normally assume that they are best in the early game, but we've actually seen Clutch Gamers pull out a lot of late game victories on their side.
Not so much here in terms of like the one showing the head, of course, which hasn't been too much, but you're right. In terms of the online stuff, they're a team that, even in their losses yesterday, they kind of showed that strategic kind of like mental edge that you don't necessarily expect out of teams that are just coming into more of a fresher spot in the scene. We saw some very kind of clever rotations in terms of tower defenses yesterday up against IG, and even if they weren't successful in that series, those are the kind of things that you're going to be looking towards when we do head into some of those later stage games. And again, that's kind of harkening back to experience, and it's just something that FACELESS have so much of, that even if this is kind of a later game based team, still coming into a spot like this, I still almost give that edge to FACELESS.
Any heroes that really stand out to you that are particularly important to Clutch Gamers?
I think the Troll is probably the one that I'm going to be looking at the most. It's still prioritized by everyone right now in the draft. It's been fairly successful considering the status that it has and how teams are very familiar with it and how they're going to ban it. So that'll be my look towards hero.
That's a hero that I think both teams are going to value highly. For Clutch Gamers specifically, I would look more towards like a Nyx or a Slardar. They've had very good roaming performances on this. They like to put a lot of pressure on mid with both heroes, and these are high priority draft picks for them both yesterday and before. In the past, in the previous patch, when these two teams played, I believe it was 5 times on 7.05 for Epicenter, FACELESS would ban out Lina and Monkey King against them every game. Those are 2 very strong tempo controlling roamers in the IG mold of that time.
Yes.
Especially with the Monkey King. So with us basically thinking that the Monkey King is, maybe out of the picture now, what direction will the bans go? I would aim towards Nyx or Slardar, I think.
Or the Omni Knight as well. We also saw that. Certainly propelled them pretty well in game number 1. So I think maybe we'll replace that Monkey King with either the Omni or instead the Nyx Assassin, which has been very successful in all of SEA across numerous of those games.
And on FACELESS' side, this is a team that has switched things up on us. For this land specifically, it seemed like they were doing a little bit of prep and pubs and stuff and preparing for that role change. But Jack, what do you think has kind of behooved this dramatic change in theirs?
Well, we saw FACELESS play at Starladder and some other tournaments. Again, a team that has done very well in the region, but has maybe struggled a bit in international lands. And then we mentioned that sometimes their drafts seem very greedy. They switched up their positions now. So Jabs has played support. He's had a history of doing that before. XY has obviously played core in the past as well. So they've switched him up to the carry. I think 1-2 should be interchangeable for them, depending on hero pool, with Black as well, moving to mid or carry. So yesterday, I'm thinking the drafts against EG, we saw a lot less greed for them. They seem to have more standard conservative drafts playing up against them. So we'll see which direction they go this time.
But for a land environment, I know it's double elimination, and there is a bit of that cushion. It's still got to be concerning, especially Black adjusting to that mid-roll. Yeah. We already saw him on social media point out that he felt like he was pretty much outclassed by Sumail yesterday.
Yeah, felt like it and looked like it. That was definitely a rough one. You're coming back in, sure, you talk about how these players have that experience playing those roles before, and that's going to be helpful. But you're coming basically into a very premier event. This is something that everyone's looking towards TI. Everyone really wants this win to try and secure yourselves one of those invites. So not the best time to be into these new positions, thrust into it. You're trying to get it pubbing up, and there's a difference between your pubs and Sumail on a puck, and he's double your net worth at 15 minutes.
Yeah, this is a land that kind of sets the tone as we go into TI. Which of the Southeast Asian teams is going to get an invite, if there is going to be one, or multiple? Which ones that are going to be able to get it? Right now, FACELESS could really use that kind of bolster of strength to show, hey, we're still the top dog in C.
Yeah, and you mentioned window of opportunity, Cap. I believe this is their final land before the TI qualifiers. And so, if they don't end up doing well here, it could be a very long road for them to get back to TI.
The new gatekeepers taking all those slots. At least that's what Clutch Gamers are trying to be here. This is really that final step. It's like the begrudging handing of the torch here. If Clutch can pull this win out.
It really does lay the question down as Clutch Gamers. Which kind of team are they? Are they a FACELESS and Fnatic, who were always the top dogs of C, but didn't actually perform well in international lands? Or are they the MVP Phoenix, the TNC, who have actually managed to go off multiple times in international lands?
I like the MVP Phoenix comparison a lot because when you saw the scene first getting to Dota 2 in Korea, you had a lot of players coming from foreign countries and foreign scenes to come and play there. This is kind of a homegrown team in the same sense of TNC. These guys have played here in this scene on those other teams like Rave, Execration, Action Arena for a long time. And so now they're able to represent their home country as this combined team. So I think there's some of that. Also similarities with South America as well. A scene that maybe didn't have the same infrastructure, maybe was a little bit overlooked for a long time, but these guys have shown that they can play and they've come to land to prove it and to gain experience.
Player matchups. Obviously, these two teams know each other so well. What is really the crux that this whole entire match rests upon?
I would guess probably that same idea of the position 4 and those rotations and how much of an impact that's going to be on mid. After yesterday, I feel like that's where I'd probably want to focus a lot of my attention. I think the way that we watched Liquid kind of focus down when they were playing up against IG and they were always like focusing OP and trying to pressure him. That's how they took that series back in Star Ladder. It kind of seemed like they were trying to mimic that a little bit yesterday from Clutch, and instead they were focusing on XXS. And he just had a very rough time in that first game, and that's where you saw that Clutch have that intelligence to try and formulate a game plan, maybe see what their opponents did. So if they want to look at how the games went yesterday for FACELESS and who I want to focus on, it's probably going to be one of those people playing in this newer role, specifically Black.
So shut down Black as much as possible and go from there?
Of course, hero dependent, but that guy has a lot of heroes to work with. I mean, he was kind of switching up before they even did this whole role swap.
That's true. One of his more notable mid-heroes, the Invoker, we've seen picked up at least once so far today. We had, I think, another one yesterday. You think Invoker is a potential comeback hero for FACELESS? Give Black a nice kind of farming carry mid?
I mean, Invoker's a versatile choice that can help other lanes as well, but I'd watch out for the counter picks, and especially who gets second pick in this series. Both these teams, I think, have leaned a lot towards second pick lately because they can string two heroes together and then get that final pick on the core, which is usually, for Clutch gamers, a mid for Armel, something that can control the pace and that works well with their supports. So for me, the position to watch out for would be the supports. Boombox on that roaming role, their supports are extremely active, and if they can control the pace versus FACELESS, who traditionally have had more under-farm supports, maybe they're more about protecting their lanes and getting their 3 cores farmed, then we'll see if they can control the game or not. When they did well against FACELESS recently, that was basically how the games went.
Yeah, and that was something that FACELESS were struggling with yesterday as well. A couple of their early rotations around that 8 to 12 minute mark coming down to that opponent's safe lane. Even if you have that pre-laid vision, if they have any inkling that you're doing that, maybe it's a little bit of a slow rotation, maybe it's just a little bit too predictable, people were just kind of dodging them out. So see if Clutch can kind of shut down that same little weak point that they had yesterday.
So I'm kind of hearing Boombox, that mid position, the core positions. Those two are kind of what we're going to be focusing on, the mid lane and the impact of both the core and the support. In which case, where does that leave us with our draft? What are we looking at for our first 1-2 bans? Boombox, do you ban the Nyx Assassin, for example, and a hero that has been kind of climbing when it comes to his rating in drafts?
Yeah, I think he's 6-1 here, I believe. So Nyx having a pretty good time when he's not banned out early. I'm going to go with Nyx Omni. I think would be the first 2 bans from FACELESS this game. What about Clutch? Any ideas there?
I think they've banned Crystal Maiden and on the previous patch Abaddon pretty frequently against, or they take that pick themselves away from FACELESS. And I think FACELESS hasn't had that much success with that. I think the hero's fallen off a bit for this patch from the games that we've seen in the small sample size. So maybe they wouldn't go that direction this time, but I would not be surprised if Crystal Maiden, Ogre, something like that, Ogre, for instance, also being able to counter or protect or put pressure on mid, and then being able to buff bigger cores later on.
Certainly something we haven't got too much lately. And I guess with the Ogre as well, that kind of harkens towards the idea of maybe the Magnus, right? Someone for Ice Ice Ice, played it very well. Maybe a little bit greedy. I believe at Starlighter he once went with the Helm build that he was kind of doing when the item first was extremely strong, and then it got nerfed, but still went back for it there. And if we want to go for like that steroid combo opener, you're always talking about the second pick. There's that way with the Empower and the Bloodlust, or we can go towards the Shadow Fiend Clockwork, which is another thing that's been very popular in SEA. And I think FACELESS even used it just yesterday too against EG.
If they did manage to pick up, say they went for some sort of Magnus combination, that would give them a very large amount of power going into the late game. It seems like Clutch gamers, they don't manage to really have the cleanest first 20-25 minutes of the game. Do you rely on that as FACELESS and say, we're just going to try and draft ourselves a bit better late game, and knowing that Clutch gamers is not likely to be able to close out the perfect game?
I think that's a fair way to assess things. You could definitely put a strategy around that. But when they often did that Empower and Bloodlust combination, one of the beauties of it was that Black had this massive hero pool. I mean, that you would just get, in the second phase, you'd have your Ogre and your Magnus, and it didn't matter what they banned. Like, there's just not enough slots to take away everything you can do with that combination. You've got your PA, your Troll, your Faceless Void, your Slark. it's just not going to happen if you're focusing anyone else during the draft. So, unfortunately, not really something that we've seen too much here. I don't even know if we've gotten an ogre yet. At least not in too many of the games. We are more onto that. The Slardar, I think, from IG was very good. So.
I think that was a good point. That's something that they've relied on a little bit. When they run these kind of tri-core lineups, they expect to have good lanes, they expect to scale better, and they expect to be able to take those fights. As we see.
It seems they like that guy. I don't know.
Something about Daryl, man. Everybody loves him.
He's taking a little nap there. He's like, what's going on? Is there a tournament here?
Gotta stay relaxed, man. Gotta stay relaxed. That's what the flip-flops are for.
At the same time, though, talking to some of the Chinese teams and some of the analysts in that scene about Clutch Gamers, which, of course, they didn't know much about. IG came into yesterday not really being prepared for them. And the second game, as you mentioned, they banned all the heroes that Clutch used in the first game. And they're like, okay, you can beat me with this. Show me something else. Was that Clutch may be a little bit all in sometimes with some of their fights. A lot of fights now we're seeing with the buffs to strength and HP count on heroes and the talents, of course, is that they go multiple rounds now. Instead of, say, getting the perfect initiation and usually be able to decide the fight, you have fights going to the second or third round of spells. And Clutch may need to improve on that. That might be one of their shortcomings in these longer fights, not committing, not putting themselves out of positions that they have to win in that first round of spells or ults.
Yeah, and maybe having perhaps a lack of experience, communication, leadership in those situations. The longer the fight goes, that comes back to experience and just staying in those. Yeah, trying to work around the fog, trying to make sure you're getting everything together, but everyone's keeping a consistent game plan. You're focusing the same heroes together. You're trying to eliminate the threats in order. We'll see, though. A lot of the heroes that also thrive in that environment are starting to get banned quite a bit. Like the Timbersaw, the Death Prophet can do fairly well in those situations too, those long sustained fights. And we seem to be kind of losing them all out during the second phase right now.
Something that seems to be a pattern for Clutch Gamers. Their offlaners, usually not the big initiators, seems to be a little bit more the static type heroes. We had the Omni in their one win against IG, and I believe they also had Darkseer and Legion Commander in their other two games. These are not the very active offlaners that we've seen from some of the matches here at the Manila Masters. Is that a formula that you think Clutch Gamers falls on a lot of the time, that Boombox needs to be an initiating type hero from the support position, and they have more of a sustained, maybe a little bit more late game oriented offlaner?
Yeah, I think definitely that's something that they've shown. That specific game with the Omni Knight there and having him coming through there, using that Nyx Assassin, we talked a lot about how much vision he was given. Such a good hero, and so well played by him to make sure the game went well. But it was also that heavy reach that comes from the Warlock too. So it kind of is both supports really to make sure that they're going to be able to afford that in their draft. They also don't play some of those more classic initiators at all. Like a Bat Rider is not something that's very common for them, which is something we've been seeing quite a bit during this tournament, trying to get that solo matchup experience. So some threats you don't really have to worry about.
That's a reflection of the interaction between their supports in the mid too. We mentioned Boombox and how active those supports are, but also if they get their mid off to a good start, if you've got the Puck, the Queen of Pain, a couple of heroes that we've seen Armel play extremely well. When those heroes get ahead or they get a few kills in lane, they become natural initiators from that position. He's usually not playing that kind of scaling farmer, and so that kind of picks up some of the slack. Maybe you see more of a team fight role coming out from the offlaner. And additionally, some of these offlaners you're talking about, Cap, being able to have more of a utility role in fights, maybe instead of pure initiation, they often need a little bit more space to farm, and if the supports are being active on mid, that can force the other team supports to rotate out of their safe lane and give that hero the space that he needs to get one of his items up.
That's true. I haven't even got to talk about Armel yet. That guy. Ooh, he is one of those thriving new stars, not something who I've personally got to see too much before, but his Shadow Fiend play, excellent, and when they do get that edge in the mid lane, as you're saying, that is the space. You're off laner, he's fine. You can buy a Midas or something, this Omni Knight, this Abaddon, everything's okay. Kind of decide how you're going to match the pace of your team. And Armel just starts going across the map, getting some ultra kills, some casual stuff there. So it does come back to that whole, getting that momentum, rolling things forward. So
he did have a very sick Invoker with a lot of really cool Sunstrikes in their qualifier match, best of 5 against TNC. For FACELESS, is there something, it feels like FACELESS needed a big hard reset for this team, simply because they haven't managed to achieve the success that they wanted to. It's kind of an all-star lineup, right? The patch, they changed the roles, but what about the patch? Do you think that is something that has been beneficial to FACELESS' play style, or do you think it actually inhibits what they want to achieve?
I would probably say inhibits instantaneously. My first reaction would be just thinking, okay, ice, strong player. Watch him a lot. I mean, it's not just the fans who are screaming for him. He is one of the big players in their game. So that nerf to the off lane, the whole shrines thing, limiting his hero pool a bit more, I would say that would be a negative thing for them.
And we talked about Ice 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 be interesting to watch on this patch because as an offlaner, he plays such a wide range of styles. He's able to get farm on greedy offlanes, but he's able to make more out of less as well. So we're seeing if they were to adjust to that. In Starladder, we didn't see too many draft adjustments, maybe in that direction. They still kind of had this greedy tricore in a number of their games. So I think with this big switch up of positions as well, like maybe they're going for a bit of a different style.
All right, I think we've torn this match open as much as we possibly can. Faceless versus Clutch Gamers. Game number 1 will be underway shortly. We're going to have a quick break.
Please.
Don't go too far, sweetie.
Okay, Daddy.
With the PLDT smartwatch, you can keep track of your child wherever she goes. It comes with a built-in GPS system and an anti-lost feature that gives you proximity alert when your child leaves a preset area. A simple call and voice message feature,
Come home, sweetie. Dinner's almost ready.
Okay, Dad.
so you can watch over your child wherever she goes. With the PLDT Home Smartwatch in partnership with Alcatel, powered by PLDT Home Fiber, home's most powerful broadband.
Kahugo ka bala. Ota, PLDT home fiber. Tik 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 no GBPS.
Oro, ora baka baha mubis. Hahok siguna.
Kasi si Eka, tataka at babaka bala. Di kami katakata sa chikchikahok sekunda.
Hala.
Gawa-gawa gata.
Uti di. Kata-kata.
Noko ako nyom channel.
Ayum-yung. Matakalam ka.
Soon, you'll find fiber in the most surprising places. PLDT Home Fiber. The strongest connections are in fiber.
You got the skills and the knowledge. You even know your way with your game. Yet, you ought to fall. You fail. So what? Stop the drama. Don't give up just yet. Get up and do what you gotta do. If you're saying you gave your best, show it to the world. Prove it to yourself. They say tough times never last. But remember, tough people do. Now go out there. Unleash that inner beast. Surprise everyone with your capabilities. And whenever greeted with failure, face it fiercely. Stand firm. And say to yourself, one more try.
Welcome back. The highly anticipated series between Faceless and Clutch Gamers is about to get underway with game number 1. Since we're getting into it, I know our draft is just about to start. I'm going to give our analysts one last chance to put their money where their mouth is. Gentlemen, I want to hear some pre-drafting predictions here.
Oh, rude. Okay, well, that's fine. I mean, who cares about the draft anyway, right? That's not important or anything. I think the way we started the day was definitely a battle of emotions, as well as just like keeping your confidence. I thought NP were going to lose that series for sure. After you lose a game like that, how do you come back from that? That's crazy. That's some serious mental fortitude. And they did it. They managed to win the third game. But now we're looking at a series that is also emotions. It's about confidence. It's about nerves. It's about players that aren't used to playing in a stadium like this. So
That sounds pretty clearly to me like you're siding with Faceless.
no, I'm actually going to go with CG.
Really?
Yeah. No,
All about nerves and being up on stage? You say they're going to come in, they've got the crowd behind them, and they're just going to persevere. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm going with that. I think after all those qualifier wins, come on, man.
Jack.
Can't you believe in something?
I can believe.
There was one thing from the IG series yesterday that I thought was really interesting. Clutch Gamers stuck with the same bands, I believe it was Ember and Earth Spirit, for all 3 games this series. That tells me that they have a lot of confidence. You see the cohesion that they've developed playing online over this time. I think the man from Cebu, Boombox, will be the hero of Manila for them, at least for this series. So I'm going with Clutch Gamers as well.
All right. I like to hear it. Belief in Clutch Gamers. All right, we're getting into our draft. Start things off. You said first bands. What was it, Trent?
Omni Nyx.
Omni Nyx. I'm going to hold you to that. Jack,
Nyx,
you want to know?
we could see CM or Bristle as well.
10 different heroes on the board. Survey says... Bands?
Are coming? Sometime? Is this when the X plays and you hear the
This is where you need to know the grunting sounds of the heroes so you can actually, correctly identify
I never
without
thought
seeing
that would
it.
become so useful. First thing I'm doing when I get back to my hotel room.
Well, that's what happens when you're only an online caster, Trent.
I know.
Here at the LAN, you gotta get used to this.
It's okay, my production's actually so much worse than this. You should see it when I'm going. It's terrible.
We don't have that soundboard handy, unfortunately. That would be nice.
That sounded like Darkseer. Am I wrong?
Darkseer? Well, I mean, with all the Slider we talked about, that would be a great option to ban out, I would think.
Interesting, and it was one of the heroes that Clutch Gamers has been picking up quite a lot. Seems to fit their playstyle. The
Gets
troll?
the mech, gets
Maybe it was the
sustain.
troll. That's kind of the same crowd, right?
Hey, he's kind of like this Abaddon or Omni Knight that, yeah, he needs a lot of space, but at least he can join early and kind of propel you through there, though. And so we do. Oh, is that Omni Nyx?
That's the Nyx
Can I see
Omni.
an Omni
Oh,
Nyx?
Trent,
Can I
you're
get some
so
love
good.
here? Yeah, all right, good. But we do get our Slider.
Clockwork Chain Protector, Slardar first pick for Clutch Gamers, and a Spirit Breaker. It feels like Faceless know the Slardar's coming up, and that's going to be their answer to it.
I like it. We often talked about mirroring rotations against the Monkey King, and I think with the Slardar, it's just a lot of that same idea. Boombox just gonna be running around. I mean, he's a crazy good Monkey King player, and he does a lot of the same stuff on Slardar, just kind of abusing that hole through the fog, running at your mid hero, and Spirit Breaker, he's gonna be the ambulance. He's just gonna show up and try to save your lane.
Yeah, being able to be disruptive himself. And for the sides here, I think once again, Clutch Gamers, or rather, sorry, Faceless won the second pick here, so this has been something that's pretty important for them because of the counter picking, because of the stringing heroes together. So interesting to see how that goes here for the series. I think in the last time they faced off, in the 2 qualifiers for Epicenter, Clutch Gamers were 3-0 in games in which they had Dire in second pick against Faceless. So we'll see if they can turn that around this time.
Troll has a pretty powerful global combination with the Spirit Breaker. What do you think about that?
Perhaps.
No.
That's interesting.
Our 4 and our 3 position picked up right away. Both initiators. Sinking, he hasn't been valued as much as other teams I would have expected. We saw in Starlight at least that a lot of teams are trying out this Sand King, faster paced, high mobility hero that is able to shove out lanes pretty quickly. Not seeing the love here in Vanilla Master so much.
It's kind of interesting, though, because we talked about this matchup, and we thought maybe a lot of that tension was going to go. And we were looking more at this mid. Like, a lot of people seem to hide their sometimes you have to get that really tier 1-4 if you want it. But Conka, you can get him a little bit later or something like that. But with them being so important in this game, we're just going to get our 4 and our offlaner picked up right away. Certainly interesting, but the Darkseer will get passed over despite being a great combo with both of these heroes. Easily could have been something they'd want to open with, and we do get our ever-fearful Troll Warlord here for Clutch Gamers.
Slardar and Troll has been a pretty frequent first 2 picks combination for Clutch Gamers, and in this case, not so much for Faceless with the Spirit Breaker Sand King, but this may signal a different approach in how their supports play. I think like being on the Dire themselves, maybe wanting to match the aggression coming out from Clutch early game, they might be picking these 2 more active supports themselves.
Queen of Pain and Lena, 2 of the most popular higher tempo mids, going to be taken out of the pool. 5 positions. We've had a lot of focus on those 5 positions for some teams.
Seems to always be that 3rd pick in the draft.
Yeah, surely it's going to be.
You don't want to reveal anything.
Here.
And
you said Crystal Maiden. Clutch Gamers love it.
I think they also love that Rubik though. We're talking about comfort. That is so by far Fly Solo's most played hero. Like recently, he got a couple more added on there with the Oracle a couple weeks ago, stacking that up with a few games in a row. But by far and away, Rubik is his most played hero. So
it's got a quick reaction stun versus Spirit Breaker. It's great versus Sand King. Being able to steal that Burrow Strike is always a big plus. Oh, and there's the Magnus, actually banned away by Faceless.
Quite a few teams abusing the whole Troll Magnus combination, so it's shocking to see that one taken away here. See if we do focus down maybe that other mid hero, and yeah, it will be this Shadow Fiend here.
Yeah, you have synergy with the Slardar too, and being able to threaten Roche. I do think Rubik is a good pick based on what you guys have been saying as well.
That's scary though.
Wisp pickup.
This is one of those beautiful 3-4 picks. You can go range some IO Bristleback shenanigans.
And it feels fantastic, right? You've got Slardar and Troll, both very single target focused type heroes. We've got this Wisp being able to come in and provide this damage resistance and this heal. Maybe you can actually relocate that hero out if he's really under duress. It seems like a fitting type of style to run against the opening of Clutch Gamers.
Yeah, if they're worried about the mid lane matchup, also this is a hero, obviously Wisp, that can go around and kind of empower any of your lanes and make you get more out of that too. So that might be something they're keeping an eye on, and then the high mobility as well to match the aggression.
Well, again, without knowing exactly what the partner will be, we definitely want to look at the Bristleback, because it seems to be the scariest one we've had lately. They're not even going to wait for that quite yet, though, in terms of like the Rubik or anything. We'll just get the Witch Doctor. So classic hero up against the IO +1. Could have also been the Disruptor, but not exactly a hero that deals too well with the Spirit Breaker and Sand King. A little bit delayed. Yeah, they come and they get their charge off and their ulti, then they get Glimpse. Doesn't really help you. Same thing with a Burrow Epi. Going to get a lot more effectiveness out of that early offensive Spirit Breaker. Diving towers can run into some trouble versus the Cask. So now we have to see if Faces want to reveal the best friend forever of our companion cube, and oh, look who it is.
Yeah,
Would you believe
Bristleback.
it?
I am not too surprised by this whatsoever. Bristleback, Wisp, is this going to be our dual lane mid? Is this going to be a safe lane like NP ran it earlier? Still a lot of versatility in the draft.
I think this could well be a dual mid. I think maybe this is one of their solutions for Clutch's style of play, to sit them there, make them very difficult to kill, and be able to secure that farm up and kind of neutralize some of the rotations. What I look forward to seeing about this is I believe that Jabs is going to be playing the Wisp. I believe he used to be a Wisp player as well, so I think this is the first time that we'll have seen that in recent memory at least.
Now this is going to be a bit of a problem. Every single time we've seen Wisp Bristleback, 1-2 pickup, going to the 3-4, ban away Timbersaw immediately because you've got 2 strength heroes that are cut down by pure damage and
look who it is.
Strength reduction.
The Timbersaw man himself.
He doesn't look happy that his hero's been taken.
No. Too good.
But that's one of the 2 answers we've kind of seen to Bristleback, right? You've either got the Legion Commander to make him turn around and try to burst him down, or the Timbersaw, who is a terror in lane. And I could see that lane being an issue here. You usually want some kind of magic burst to be able to deal with the Timbersaw. Otherwise, he gets off to a really good start, and it's just a pain to take down.
4 strength heroes to play into. This is pretty nice. Take care of the Puck, another pretty classic hero here for Clutch Gamers. Allows them to get that snowball going, really take advantage of any sort of lead during the laning phase, and also someone who can be considered somewhat survivable against an IO Bristleback.
There's really not too many faster paced mids left out there. Especially potentially going up against the Wisp Bristleback. You've got the Queen of Pain, the Lena, and the Puck, who I would say are your 3 kind of go-tos when you need some initiation, you need a little bit of tempo, you want to play fast with your mid hero. Those are your go-to girls. what's left.
There is something like an Ursa that's still a possibility for them. I think the last team that beat them in SCA, Nasty Potatoes, banned Ursa against them both games. We haven't seen them play it as much recently, but it might fit that style if they want to, and gives you the burst to threaten as well.
The only frightening thing, though, is that Faceless, the benefit of their draft and their position here is they don't have to reveal exactly who's going to be in that mid. If you try and go for one of these heroes that can be a little bit riskier in the mid lane, like an Ursa, like what if they go for some super hard counter? Yeah, the Iron's back up, we're just not going to throw him mid. So now you have to address both that as well as any sort of other hero they can throw mid. Then you kind of get stuck in this more balanced mid hero, perhaps. I don't know if, like, an OD sounds a little bit scary.
Pan away the Ursa from Faceless. That is quite a conundrum.
Yeah.
You're sitting here looking like, okay, we can run Timbersaw versus Bristleback, but if you commit to an off laner now and then they switch it up and put safe lane
Timber is so good this game.
The only option is maybe sending the Timber mid as well if you do want to take one of those riskier picks and they try to abuse it, but then of course a lot of those heroes could also do fairly well put against the Timbersaw, so tough call here. We have our TA left in terms of very popular heroes. Doesn't look too great here in terms of their overall control and whatnot. And again, pretty much just the OD or something crazy risky like a Storm or something, but again, IO Bristle potential.
For me, the Ursa kind of says they want to run that Timbersaw mid. Just hope that there's not another hero out there that can really deal with the Timbersaw mid and shut him down early. In which case, we get our initiation from the off lane. What do we have left? No Clockwork. Darkseer still left out there. Tide.
There's still Legion if they do want to end up getting that off laner, as you say. And also here they can stay there mid as well if they want to run it that way based on matchups.
Certainly a conundrum they've got themselves in here.
What about the
edge from the draft? If we do go off lane. Yeah. Not too bad. Another classic counter to the IO +1.
Oh, they go back to their Abaddon. Despite the not seeing the success there from Team Secret's choice of picking up the Abaddon, they're still going to go for what is one of their go-to heroes. After all, it's what they're familiar with on lane.
Yeah, and that was against Faceless too, where they took those wins for the Epicenter qualifiers. They went 2-1. They did take down the bad once, but that straddle draft did work out. And yeah, then we'll just get a mid answer to the Timbersaw. So very well set up here by Faceless, I have to say, as the draft concludes.
They certainly abused that last pick quite heavily. OD versus Timbersaw, Wisp, Bristleback in a safe lane against an Abaddon. Probably won't be too bad either. Is that last pick secured for you? Does that mean Faceless is the go-to win for game number 1?
I'm going to have to give him the edge. I do really think that draft, like, just the whole mental thing of, like, it kind of looked like Clutch were struggling, and they were trying to figure things out. I don't think there's too many times you're intending to send this Timbersaw into that mid lane. So I would think I am going to give it to Faceless after the draft.
Yeah, I like the flexibility of their overall draft, the different directions they could go, and their focus on the bands of Clutch as well. I like Faceless' draft too in this case.
All right, guys. Looks like I guess I'm just going to have to make it a 3-0. I'll go Faceless as well. The last pick OD sounds good to me, but can Faceless actually execute to win this game at number 1 against Clutch Gamers? We're about to find out. Take it away, LD and Lumi.
Thank you very much, Cap. Lumi, we are in theory on home turf here for Clutch Gamers, but by the sound of the crowd, it kind of sounded like Ice 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 might have stolen their hearts.
I mean, Ice 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 did get loud cheers, and when the Timbersaw was picked, they were cheering really hard too. I'm not sure if there was some confusion. They were expecting Ice 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 Timber, but the Timbersaw going to be on the Clutch Gamers side, and you were saying just as we were, before they threw it to us, that this is a great Timber game. 4 strength heroes.
But then the OD pick. The OD definitely throws a bit of a wrench into that. He's great against Timbersaw. Also looks like he should have a great matchup. They actually do have the Tagalog, the Pinoy casters on the PA, so if you hear the crowd really getting into it, guys, that's because
that's not us.
They're cheering for their home crowd, their home team. So teams entering the field of battle. Overall, Lumi, I want to get your predictions for this game and then also like for the series. You've cast these teams a lot in qualifiers heading into this event.
2-0 CG. So that solves the prediction for this game as well. Clutch Gamer, at least on the qualifiers, have looked superb. They've dominated Faces every single best of 3, best of 5 I casted.
They qualified for what? It was 4 or 5? Like basically every land.
Everyone that they're not directly invited to anything, so they have to work it the hard way, and they just beat out all of the other C teams. Now, something that the panel is pointing out is that online qualifier is one thing, but now when it all counts, when you're on LAN, I think Faces definitely has the edge there when it comes to experience.
FACELESS certainly has the experience, though it hasn't always translated into results on LAN, and at times like they've felt like a team that kind of chokes under pressure.
They have experience in the lower bracket.
They've experienced losing at LANs.
I mean, you know, we joke about it. That actually matters here, right? For such a young team, for Clutch Gamers, this is their first time with their backs against the wall. For FACELESS, this is every Tuesday, so...
It's almost more pressure for FACELESS, I feel, though, because of the expectations for the team, right? Because they're a veteran team. Anything less than qualifying for TI is a big disappointment.
Sure.
They've invested a lot into this team, especially Ice, literally funding it out of his own pocket. They don't even have sponsors, so
That's
financially, it's, you know, a bit of added pressure for him. And they really just have this event, whereas Clutch Gamers, assuming they go to all those other events, they'll have some follow-up opportunities to really stake their claim. So if anything, I almost feel like there's more pressure for FACELESS, despite the fact that they're the more veteran experienced team. But here we go. Action is going to break out. Quick, fast, and hurry. And already Clutch Gamers are finding XY in the trees. Bristleback could be in a little bit of trouble here. This is some heavy aggression early on. Gabby coming in, giving him lots of damage. The crowd losing their minds. And XY losing his life.
So you notice there, this is what Clutch Gamer always do. They generally just give the kills. So they could have easily grabbed the first blood, but they made sure Gabby took like 2 to 3 extra physical hits just to get it. And you're going to see that they're going to give Armel that special treatment as well.
Yeah, the pressure continues as Rappy will get chased a bit here in the bottom lane, but it's an Abaddon, not an easy kill. So a clean first blood, grabbed by Clutch Gamers. They're going to run the Abaddon safe lane solo, it looks like, not getting any help, so we'll see how he performs, but imagine he gets zoned, still gets his levels. And then on the flip side, Lumi, they're running this aggressive tri-lane. For now, no real signs that the Bristol's getting help. Perhaps the Io will make the rotation.
Yeah, this is a very strong aggressive tri-lane because once you get that Troll Warlord, maybe level 3 or 4, you give him that phase boots, then you free up the Clutch Gamer supports. They can start roaming mid, and I think Bristleback will continue to lose the lane by himself. Okay, I say Troll Warlord, excuse me, that's actually a Timbersaw on the off lane, but same theory applies, right? Once he gets the quick levels, he is going to dominate Bristleback.
Yeah, especially if he gets that early help, but rotations are coming in. This will not be a 2v1. He will have the assistance. As Nuts shows his pretty mug in the top lane. Could prove to be the zoner. We'll see if he can find any openings. He's immediately going in on a fly solo. Very aggressive move by him as Jab joins the fray as well. Tethering forward onto XY. They're going to make the move onto Gabby here. But Boomax has to turn around and quickly the damage pumped out. Gabby stays alive. The kills are stacking up. They're not particularly high level though. And in the end, Gabby has overextended. He'll fall. Boomax could well be next. This is looking a little dicey. The Clutch Gamers feeling the adrenaline in the crowd and maybe overestimating how much damage they can dish out.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Clutch Gamer made it go so early because they really need level 2s and level 3s to be very effective in this lane, whereas I believe FACELESS, all they needed was what they had there. You know, their heroes do get better at level 2, but not as much as Clutch Gamers do. So I was surprised that they actually made it go on that one.
So this lane is sure to be full of action. Elsewhere, it looks like in the end we are going to settle into 1v1 matchup. So Black playing the OD mid, up against the Troll. How do you feel about this matchup? And then our final 1v1 in the bottom lane, it's an Abaddon taking on a Sand King.
So for the mid lane, I think OD is slightly advantaged. You get the Astro, you get the Deny top lane. Looks like Gabby is going to face a little bit of pressure, but he should be fine here. But I think, like I said, mentioned earlier, once Phase Boot comes out for Troll Warlord, he gets a little bit better. And as for the bottom lane, I think that's Sand King advantage, although that could be debated depending how well the players play.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I would expect with Caustic, he should be able to pull ahead in a true 1v1. We do see early on a lot of denies for OD, and perhaps a nice benefit, like kind of a mini buff to the hero. Good deny if the rune there by Jab. Is that denies are more important in this patch, and OD with Astral is pretty damn good at securing them.
Yep. Now, the one thing I haven't actually mentioned so far is that FACELESS traditionally is not an IO team. I believe this is their first IO game in like 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, I know Winter, actually, I think he talked to me about a Kiev, and he was saying he would have liked to see them run it. Jab just shows his versatility, picking the hero up for the team. But Gabby now being forced back. XY starting to stack up the quills as he mounts the pressure, but not quite enough for kill. Boomax coming in a bit of a flank.
On the 2 solo lanes.
Staying alive through it all. XY with full mana can continue to apply pressure. I think my concern, Lumi, is that it's such a good Timber game against 4 out of these 5 heroes, but he's not really getting that much top. He's only got 9 CS. I don't think it's that good of a Timber game if you're behind, but if he's farmed, he's a beast with 4 strength heroes. So I do wonder if they should be prioritizing his far more.
I mean, a true statement for every Timber game, right? If you exit the lane stage with 0-4, with like 20 CS, you're not going to have a good game. And I'm really worried about that for Gabby. And I'm not sure whether Maledict was the correct level 2 choice for the Witch Doctor, because I felt like Voodoo Restoration would have done a lot more, at least to get them out of that fight. But Gabby going hard here.
I mean, like you said, Clutch Gamers is known for their aggression, and certainly Maledict, more aggressive choice. Nuts comes in, they will connect on the charge, but just more securing the Bristleback's retreat than anything else. So the lanes are shuffling now. They're going to leave Gabby alone top. And they start to rotate to try and protect this bottom lane where the Abaddon has been having a hard time against Sandcane. And, well, that hard time's about to get a whole lot harder. Rappy tries to run away. The Caustic going to slow him down a little bit. And with that slow, should be enough for the kill. We'll have a follow-up burrow streak momentarily, as long as he doesn't whiff it, and he won't. Man, just a devastating start here. Ice, as you would expect in the matchup, dominating.
Yeah, Ice is one of the best 1v1 off laners. You don't generally see him in that situation because most teams do put 3 players on him. But when he does get it here, he is looking pretty hot. Gabby pressuring up top, but
he's going to try to turn this fight. The Whirling Blade comes out. He sticks around and Boomback destroys the prey. Needs to fight Nuts if they're going to look for a kill opportunity, but one will not be forthcoming. Well, meanwhile, Ice trying to do that economic damage. Will tank the Shockwave. Follow-up comes through, but the burrow counter initiation. Maledict is on Ice. He's going to get pretty low, even with the tether heal. Another shield might be enough. No, Fly Solo goes down. Now they can turn the other way. Rappy suddenly finds himself in danger. The burrow's there. Timed right as the crush comes through. Jabs will drop. Rappy still trying to secure that crucial kill on Ice. Boomback's going to have a crush soon. He will connect. The shield's still there. They might be able to turn it. No, he gets to the low ground, but actually Duke's back the other way. He stays near the shield. Can they keep the vision? They do, but the heal might come through. No, in time. Not in time. Jabs will end up going down. It's still the pressure on the Jab. Jab is going to drop again in this fight. 2 deaths for him. Just complete implosion from Faceless in the bottom lane.
I think that little cow mark on top of the Abaddons had baited them all in. They're like, okay, we got Bristleback coming, but he was so far away. And now with all the pressure off of Gabby, he gets the true 1v1 that he wanted. And even though XY had the advantage in lane, I think he's okay with that. I think Timbersaw will beat him in that 1v1.
Meanwhile, Black is like, he's playing his dream game. This is like playing anti-mage when he's uncontested, just getting creeps, 51 and 22.
Well, yesterday he had a Shadowfiend game where he had like an Alchemist network bar. It was so big.
Oh, Gabby looking for the big plays, doesn't have the pointed Timber Chain yet. He's going to have the shotgun pulling down. He finds XY, secures the solo kill, and much needed as he was not CSing particularly well. He will make it out. And he gets to the shrine too, so he can stick around in the lane.
Black?
Oh, that ain't happening. Man, Gabby really pushing it to the limit.
Yep. So the one definitely good spot for Faces still, like you mentioned, Black is doing amazingly in the mid lane. Any quick item that you think he's going to be getting? He does have the Force Staff queued up. You think this is the correct choice in this situation?
Yeah, I think Force Staff's good here. Kiting gives them some initiation, because other than that, it's really just the Sand King. You can't rely on the Spirit Breaker charge necessarily, so I think it's a safe pickup and upgrades well later, transitions well later in the game. Gabby, meanwhile, though, duking out as Boombax comes in. There's the crush, only connects on one. The chase goes the other way. The OD hammering into Gabby. This is a big kill and a heavy commitment. Faceless will secure it, bringing that Timbersaw down.
Bottom lane looks like Abaddon is going to get a charge out of him, but they should see the...
This is C Dota, man. 13 kills. We are 8 minutes in. This brings me back, Gloomy.
Alright, that's gonna get canceled.
I'm just cracking up at the Tagalog cast. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But meanwhile, Astral's gonna set things up in the mid lane. While bottom, Rappy trying to go on Ice. He's in a lot of danger though, quite low. Ice might re-engage momentarily. Black has the hammer, chooses not to drop it just yet. Making it quite enough damage. While meanwhile, Nuts, Gabby rejoins the fray. The next shot, he's gonna grab a haste. He can squirm his way out, come back in, look for the crush on Jabs, potentially try to kill the IO here. Maybe get the 2-hero crush, but no, great banish by Black is going to prevent that initiation. Gabby won't be able to save Fly Solo, but looks to engage. He's low on mana though. Black zapping it repeatedly with the charge. They will get the vision needed. They secure the kill. Another death for the Timber. This Timber is going to need farm to be impactful later. I feel like he's over-committing to these fights.
Same thing with Troll. I mean, you mentioned about Timber playing from behind. I think historically Troll needs to be ahead as well, or at least even.
Wait, there's a Troll in this game? I mean, it doesn't feel like it, right? Because he's just kind of been...
LD, you're going too deep right now. I know you're LD, but All right, top lane.
You can never go too deep, Lumi.
That's true. That's true.
A wise man once said. Okay, well, I'm not sure things will settle down, but while we have just a tiny moment, like, I look at the Timbersaw not really having a great start. He's 4-3-1. He's getting good experience from the kills, but net worth is not exactly there. Meanwhile, OD is free farming, and OD is the one hero that can deal with the Timbersaw if he gets ahead. So
and the Tro. I mean, if you see him popping the ult, you just Astro him.
Yeah.
Suddenly, his ult is wasted. So.
And they have a lot of control for Troll this game between Spirit Breaker, even when he gets a BKB. You already have the Bristleback who's just like tanky and annoying to deal with, can lock on him with goo and limit him in fights, and they have Disable from Sand King. So I don't feel like the Troll can really take over on his own in this matchup.
No, I don't think so. And if you talk about control, if you look at the flip side, where is the control for Clutch Gamer? You're depending pretty much on a Slaughter and the cast from Witch Doctor, which is not too reliable. You're trying to use that against defensive relocate and Astro. I feel like Clutch Gamer is going to have a hard time getting kills in mid game.
Take a breath. At least the short one. FACELESS, though, wasting no time and applying additional pressure. They're going to go for a deep jungle invasion as they plunge through the Clutch Gamers woods. Let's see where they wrap around. It seems like Clutch Gamers may have anticipated this. They do have a ward in the area, and they now smoke. They're going to rotate towards the top side, it appears. XY, not a solo kill, but with the backup of the Slardar, they might be able to bring him down.
The Troll Warlord is also in the neighborhood. I wonder if they're going to wait for him. Probably not.
They're giving up a tower for this, and the rotation comes out. A quick flurry of TPs. They bring him down to about half HP, but now the Io's there, and they have to back away. Fortunately, Ice does not have a blink just yet, but he does have the move speed, and in comes Duns, charging forward. The chain's not on the mark. He gets interrupted anyway, then they burrow through. They've got the follow-up damage to bring Gabby low. Can they finish the job? Decent crud at the center. Swing and a miss from Ice. And it looks like he'll make it away. Boombacks, too. So a good retreat. Clutch Gamers disengage. Though that mid tower, I think, took quite a beating in the meanwhile. Actually, did end up going down. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it was such a risky play for Clutch Gamer to go for that kill, and they don't even get it, not even close, and they lose the mid tower. So to me, this is Black's game. He had the start that he needs. He has the advantageous hero in this particular game. I'm expecting him to hard carry his team now, and he's
had free farm. The Troll's been in the woods half the time.
Right.
They haven't really done anything to apply pressure, and that was the beauty of the 5th pick OD is there wasn't really any way they were going to beat OD. Like if you put the Timbersaw mid, he's going to have a hard time. Troll's going to have a hard time. They don't want to give the Bristleback free farm, and he's strong 1v1 against most of these heroes. So it was kind of a rock and a hard place, and you would expect the OD to have a good start, but this is a fantastic beginning for Black.
Now, earlier you were asking me what is my prediction for this game in this series, and I confidently said 2-0 CG.
It's okay, Lumi.
No.
The Davids are not very good at predictions.
No, I'm still going to back this up. Clutch Gamer are in this spot all the time. They're always behind the first 15 minutes, and they just somehow have a magical team fight in the 30, 40-minute mark. So look for that Clutch Gamer moment. They do tend to clutch it out in the end. We'll see if they...
well, let's see if they live up to the name. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you feel like... I kind of feel like there's a bit of nerve showing with this game, like over-committing on the rotation.
Sure.
Like, as the crowd starts to roar, they're just like, let's fight, kill, let's go, play aggressive, balls to the wall, but... the game does slow down a bit now. They're going to make their move towards mid. They'll group up with the Troll here, and they will begin to push Solar Crest now. Or sorry, the Medallion now online, so they can commit to that siege a little bit further. Gabby applying pressure to XY up top, but now the rotation comes in nuts there with the charge. The cast's going to bounce, and now the OD. Do they go? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, to me that move from Clutch Gamer is a bit of like desperation here. Like they just want to make anything happen. Just go down mid and try to get a tower. But top lane here,
Gabby though have the mobility with the IO relocate potentially to work with, as well as the charge. You really have to be careful about playing, about ping-ponging around the map too much. So Gabby looking to move in now on XY. They get the cask initiation. Epicenter in position. Very far back. The Epicenter comes through. It's a beauty from Ice. Chunks 3 low. The hammer drops. And between the anvil and the hammer, Clutch Gamers are absolutely crushed. 3 dead. Gonna be 4 once Rappy gets finished off here. It really is a disaster up top, Lumi.
Yeah, I mean, going on a Bristleback again, that's the designated hero. If FACELESS could choose one person to be gone on, it's XY's Bristleback every single time.
All right, well, I'm waiting for that comeback.
I mean, it ain't happening until the Slaughter gets his Blink Dagger, which is really good for FACELESS, right? They have these 2 high tempo support in the form of IO and the Spirit Breaker, and they're forcing fight constantly. Slaughter has to keep up with them, so he never gets the time to actually get that 5-minute free farm that you always see Slaughter's player get. So I think the strategy here from FACELESS is very sound.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ice already has his key initiation and is constantly diving into the fray. Full Hurricane Pike now complete. This is going to make life really tough for the Timbersaw, and it already felt like he was having a hard time, but now it gets a whole lot harder. FACELESS going to slow down, look to play that economy game, farming up the Ancients, and they've got the Bristleback to quickly kill them off, but Ice will engage. Link Burrow forward onto Boombacks. I believe they have the charge coming in, but a bit too far to dive with that tier 1, so they'll let him go, but you can still see the pressure is constantly there. Actually, they're looking to re-engage. Boombacks not going to be able to get off the crush. He gets focus fired and brought down. So FACELESS, make him think everything's okay. Ice kind of baits him into a false sense of security by rotating back, and then they pounce.
That's actually super smart, because when the Sankey keeps chasing, support TP is going to come, but the charge completes, the IO relocate. Is that the first one we've seen this game?
I believe so,
yeah. And that is super effective here. Charge up top. No relocate back up for this one, but we'll try to scare him away.
And FACELESS definitely applying a lot of pressure on the map. You see Clutch Gamers a bit restricted in their movements as Ice looks to get the party started. A little do-do-do likely coming to a theater near you mid. Finds the solo, kill and fly solo with Nuts. Well, adding some moral support to the gang. And now they're going to transition into a potential push. Looks like, or at least thinking about it, the Bristleback will be the siege engine. I guess that's one thing to mention, Lemmy. FACELESS are not very good at taking structures. They only have the Bristle to hit buildings.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the lead that MP had, right, in game 1 of the series that you casted. They had a Bristle, and T8 historically very good at taking tower. Even then in that game, it took them forever. Now you don't even have the T8 here, so how is FACELESS going to break high ground?
That's, I think, the game plan for Clutch Gamers at this point is just try and dodge fights as much as possible, farm, and I don't know if you can fully turtle up, though. If you give up every outer tower, they have nobody who can really safely leave the base, aside from maybe Timbersaw. The thing is, you're up against Spirit Breaker IO, right? So even if you get a BKB, you could still be charged, relocate, ganked, and if you're not able to TP out in time, you're dead.
Maybe Abaddon could leave too, but I mean, how much farm is he going to get by leaving the base? So.
He almost has to take that risk, and he'll probably die just so the other cores can also farm. Again, Ice applying pressure. This time, though, he is very much on his own, but the relocate's ready to go again. He's got backup coming. There's the Sentry Ward. Cast comes out. Where's the relocate? Does he get any support? Team! Where's my team?
Oh, he's baiting. Team is coming from the back line here, and they're going to go straight on the Timbersaw. The hammer is prepped up. Will it be dropped? Oh my god, they're going to get cleansered from all sides. Ultimate is going to commit it here from Abaddon. Abaddon on the run. Again, the hammer is at the ready. Will it get dropped?
I don't think he needs it here. He can just hit him with a rubber mallet, and Rappy's likely in trouble. The Goose slows him down. It continues to be stolen. A follow-up charge. Nuts knows how to play this kind of Dota. Fearless, running at you. Oh, man. Brings you back to the old MVP days when Korean Dota was relevant.
I mean, ironically, when it was those days, he was playing the Witch Doctor. I really like this look when he's just going in hard and having Jabs play the hard
Gabby
fight.
actually got denied by the newts there, it looks like. Okay. I mean, it's still for FACELESS. He's not farming, right? And he's not coming back into this game without either kills or a lot of me time.
Oh, this is definitely not a good look here for Clutch Gamer. Might be a very early GG. And again, walking to this game too, like the morale might be the most important for Clutch Gamer. Are they crushed in that department?
I mean, it started off so emotional for the team. Like, they get the first blood, the crowd's going absolutely bonkers. You can hear the casters really getting into it. They just keep on taking fights. So when you have that big emotional high early in the game, and then let's assume it continues this way and they go on to lose it, that can really throw you for a loop. You suddenly feel like very drained, a little overwhelmed by the magnitude of the moment. So it will be a good test of their stability as a team. Like, do they have that calm voice in the room to bring them back down, get them refocused? Not over yet by any means, though. It is very FACELESS favored. 8,000 gold lead with an OD that's out of control in a game where he is super well matched up to deal with them.
Yeah, and we're getting to a point where damage starts to become a concern. I mean, you saw them jumping the Bristleback, which is not even don't even think about that anymore. That's not going to happen. IO's about to finish a mech. And when IO has a mech finish, I don't think Clutch Gamer could kill anybody in between mech, tether, Astro, all the stuns that
They have
Faceless could
so
throw
many
in.
ways to disengage or reset fights, whether it's the relocate, the bristleback just being super tanky, the OD has the hurricane
Force
spike.
staff, all
You
that
have
stuff.
the spear breaker can charge out of the fight. You don't want to go on him anyway. So yeah, there's no good target to jump, like aside from just catching the Sand King out if you can focus him down. But here begins the initiation on Rappy. Is going to maybe be forced to use the borrowed time pretty early in this fight. The Blink Crush to try and allow him to disengage. So Boombacks can take the bullet instead. And now it's on to Rappy, who will be banished, put aside, take a nap, says Black, and then they come back with an epicenter. They will crush him. I mean, Faceless it feels like Kobe playing with the high schoolers on the playground right now, Lou. I mean, this doesn't seem fair.
And all these kids are getting dunked because it is not looking good for Clutch Gamers. Score is 10-18, but
meanwhile, top lane, relocate, and Troll will make it out of there. We have not seen much of the Troll this game.
No.
They had the one time where they're like, let's group up as 4 mid. That's been it. I feel like he's not even a hero in this game.
And normally when Troll has a really tough game like this, I think Shadow Blade becomes a choice to kind of split push, but you can't even do that against a Spirit Breaker because when he charges, he has vision of you constantly.
And then you have the Blink relocate with the Sand King and the IO, so you're not likely to get out of those gangs. And what do you go item-wise? Do you kind of have to get a BKB?
You have to.
But Spirit Breaker is going to largely waste that. Bristle still hits you pretty hard during that time. And worst case scenario, the OD can always banish whoever you're focusing. So when you're behind like this, it's really a tough Troll game to have an impact.
Yeah, I
you're
think
just a walking ultimate in a lot of ways.
I think Clutch Gamer has to pray for Face's mistakes. I think this game's already out of their hand. They have to just basically play as best as they could inside their base, and hopefully Faceless just dives to tier 4 or something and starts something there.
This game, it really feels like it's been put at 1.5 or 2 times speed. 28 kills in 21 minutes. Faceless just already looking to threaten the inner tier 2s and potentially even break the base. After that secret NP series, it feels like it feels like a different version of Dota almost. Yep, such a change in tempo. So Faceless move in now. The big initiation from Black attempted, doesn't quite get off the Astral Imprisonment, but he will force the Timber away. And Timber is not running at OD anymore. That is for damn sure.
You can see on the minimap that currently Clutch Gamer is trying to get a bait kill on the bottom side. Threat, hoping that somebody will TP here.
So Spear Breaker's going to charge. They're going to TP one hero in at the tier 2, and then they'll relocate. Maybe one even at the tier 1 directly. All of a sudden, there's 4 heroes bottom, so you got to be careful of your Clutch Gamers.
Relocate coming in.
And now they make their move, the Burrow Strike. Oh, they get the banish to start things off, so there'll be at least 1 kill this day. And it's onto a juicy target. The Troll bites the dust. He is going BKB. Kind of feels like he has to, but again, it's not a game where, you get BKB, now you can take the fights.
That's where my good friend Andy Styles will say a game-losing
BKB.
Top lane.
Gabby out of mana now, and Black looking to apply additional pressure. He will get clipped by the Crush here. Can they do anything to him with the IO? He just doesn't care. He's running only one direction. The charge is coming in. Forward. Now the sideline swipe. Ice coming in, locking down Boombacks, gets the Urn off, going to bring him low. Meanwhile, they're able to deal with Rappy, but he gets one auto tech for Black that heals him up almost a third of his HP. As the borrowed time wears off, the pain's going to set in though. Rappy being forced back, nuts with an additional charge. This is our base now, says Black. Slaughters them with the OD ult. Nuts taking some damage, but they can't even really kill the Spirit Breaker. Finally, Rappy able to bring him down from beyond the grave.
I think Black actually had Astro there, but he was going to be stuck under that position regardless, so.
Wants Nuts to chill out.
Yep. Well, we talked about them not having good base siege heroes. Doesn't matter when everybody's dead.
When you're this far ahead, it really doesn't matter. So Clutch Gamers let Faceless into their home. Faceless not respecting that residence for long. They just start quickly tearing the establishment apart.
Yeah, they're just super rude. They didn't even knock. They just barged in.
I'll take some of this, I'll take some of that, and then just smash the windows on their way out for good measure. Not very polite guests.
At least they left them the shoelace. That range rack's still alive right now, so they got something for a cold winter.
Yeah. Well, that's not going to last for too long.
Well,
how do you catch your breath if you're Clutch Gamers at this point? Already you've got to be thinking about game 2, even if you're not ready to GG out.
I think for Clutch, they've been, at least in this tournament, has been experimenting with a lot of different heroes. And to be fair, it's a new patch, so adapting is often the right move to do, but maybe it's time to try their old classic. You know, give me the Armel Invoker.
Okay.
You talk about, you know...
We saw Invoker earlier today. It did take a while for mid 1 to come online, though.
But he came online in a big way, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was like 60 minutes. They had a 20k gold comeback, but we'll see as the next round of engagement breaks out. FACELESS on the move. A beautiful crush, but do they have to follow up damage? They're going to try to lock down Black. They get a few bashes off, but they've got to keep on focusing. He pops his BKB. The epicenter just urges FACELESS forward. Does really no damage at all, but it's moral support in the end. As the burrow comes through, they'll connect for another kill. Boomback's down. 2 fall. Courier's going to drop as well. That's the Dire Courier died. Had a Perseverance on it. Not a crucial item for now, but they've got to be reeling.
Yep. Shrines will get taken down. FACELESS just extend their lead. I think they're just waiting for one more mistake and they could close out this game.
They might not even need it if they're like patient about a siege. If you just keep the Bristle in front. OD while he has his BKB is not going to be a realistic kill, but it'll be a slow siege. Again, they're not great at killing buildings unless all 5 heroes are free to wail away.
I mean, they have overcharge, you know? Like, you put that on OD, you could start hitting away.
That's some value right there, Lumi.
Oh, actually, now with the Blink and Hurricane Pike, Black could just blink in, find, like, Witch Doctor or anybody, right? And you pike him, and he's just dead. So I think that's actually a great way to start a siege if you want to go for that route. But
And with an Aegis and a BKB, I mean, not likely to be the target, although Aegis now going to expire. So if FACELESS want to play this safe, they can wait for the next one. I mean, split pushing just got even harder. Ice says that is not on the menu as he gets the Ags. So good luck running away from FACELESS. The gap close is just absurd now.
this is a good time to say that I really appreciate the Aegis countdown timer. Thank you, Pip Bucko, for that technology. We have the tech.
And soon Valve will too.
Oh, man.
FACELESS. Patient here. Showing X-Wild in front, but they're waiting for the backup to arrive, although Spearbreaker's going to push out the top lane, so no real sense of urgency to take the fight.
I like how Clutch Gamer has all 5 there. They see a Bristle. They're like, well, I guess we'll just let him goo us up because we can't actually fight him.
Give him that viscous nasal good. That sounds like one of the grossest things there is. As Nuts finally joins the fray, they're going to get off the initial banish here. So they follow up on a Rappy. Oh, that's a bold move. Gabby, I'm not sure if it's going to pay off. Crushes, turns it around, potentially Ice, backing off. Looks like he wants to prep for the epicenter. Decent banish there, trying to buy time while Armel debuts his BKB. He's actually able to lock this OG down, keep him out of the fight. Black coming quickly. Is this the miracle comeback? Luby? No, it's the painful, crushing turnaround from Ice. Just walked away in vision, prepped up the epicenter from the trees, and then came back in, and they were just all eyes on the OD.
Buyback's going to come out, and I do believe this is the beginning of the Bro Strike inside the base, and Slaughter are in a lot of trouble.
Chase continues, Boomback's on the run, dropping quickly. XY, though, being dealt with somewhat by this Timbersaw, needs a little bit of help from his friends to stay alive. Doesn't have the support of the IO, who's rushing back to play, but the crush is there. The damage can be done. It's Ice to the rescue. What a sick timing. He's able to save him with the burrow, and then they turn the fight around. Gabby with the blade mail, preventing Black from focusing, but as the blade mail ends, he can start to lay in with the orb auto attacks. They have lost that one lane already. They hold the line for now, Lumi, but the numbers are crushing them. They're now down by 20k gold.
I mean, looking back to the previous team fight where you got like half a second of hype, right? Like it looked like they were about to make some sort of stuff to happen. I think if they weren't down by like 15k, maybe if they're down 8k or 7k, they have a strong chance of winning that fight, and that's where Clutch Gamer really shine. They're really good at fighting from behind, but like you said, sometimes no matter how good you are, no matter how skilled you're at dodging nukes, when you're down by 15k, you're down by 15k.
Well, and now you're down by 20. Clutch Gamer's going the wrong way if they want to come back, but still definitely making a game out of it. And I think that showing the potential of the lineup, if, like you said, they had even a slightly better first 15 to 20 minutes.
Right.
So FACELESS is going to reset here, and I imagine they're thinking twice about fully committing to a push without the Aegis. Though, as I say that, 3 of them marching down mid, but it looks like the real objective is this relocate onto top, is they're going to move onto that Slaughter, find Boobacks in the trees, the focus fire is there, he ain't going anywhere. FACELESS find the opening kill, and that is a big hero remove from the fight. The only reason why they even almost killed the OD was the amp damage with the troll right-clicking the whole while. So without him, really no hope that he dies.
He also got a couple of lucky bashes in between. Like, if the stuns weren't there, I think could have easily Astro the troll, and that would be the end of that. So.
Well, he was BKB, so...
Astro himself. Then.
Yeah, you could Astro yourself, you can at least back away and try to reset the fight. But they're not going to overcommit here, and now something that will help deal with that with that corrosive haze. They do get the Shiva's Guard now on the OD.
Yep. And of course, they already have the Lotus Orb on one of the allies, so they can pop it on black if they want to. Yeah, XY's got it.
Yeah, so they're really getting solutions to that physical damage, and without it, they're not killing an OD with BKB. That is never going to happen.
Roche gets checked here by Io. He pings it up. It's up. And, FACELESS could easily take it anytime he wants.
And I think they want to take it as soon as possible. So Black going to blink, and then probably pike his way back towards the pit. Skips down the ramp, and he will be looking to grab the Aegis. Do Clutch Gamers, do they contest this? Do they risk leaving the base? Well, they only have a couple seconds to decide.
And I think it's already too late. I think the answer is no. Normally when you're behind, you feel like you need to win a fight at the, steal the Roche, kill them there, and you have a chance to make comebacks. They are so far behind. They're like in 3 different area code worth of behind that play is not even within their realm of possibilities.
Oh, all is in the realm of possibility for FACELESS and meanwhile, Nuts charges in, the relocate comes through. Poor Witch Doctor. Fly Solo is going to be sleeping solo at the well in a matter of seconds. Boombax drops and out. Black turns his attention towards Armel, forcing him up and away. A clean pick. And still they look for more. Gabby has to chain up to safety. FACELESS waiting for the creeps to march in.
And this is Aegis and Cheese, right? I don't know who has the cheese, but they are not killing this OD twice. Io has the cheese. Oh my god, Io with the cheese is like 4 lives for the whole team.
So they march down mid. XY starting to work on the tier 3 tower. Does anybody initiate? You don't want to go on the bristle, but I'm not sure how else you get into the fight. While Ice lurks, they do manage to get the Maledict up on XY. That's going to make them slightly more susceptible to Clutch Gamers moving in. But there's the Hurricane Pike initiation. Gabby pops the Blade Mail. That is going to prevent Black from laying in for damage. He has to be patient here. But now as the Blade Mail wears off, he can really get to work. Plays into Gabby a bit further. Armel, in the meanwhile, has to pop his BKB, but he's not hitting anyone during this time, and Nuts comes through. There's the charge initiation. He's going to get forced back to safety. They completely waste these BKBs. FACELESS starting to close in on the tier 3 tower. They swing away on the melee rack. Still XY at half HP and a bit more. Still Jabs with the relocate save available. Still Black holding onto his BKB. FACELESS have all the weapons in the world they need. The only thing they don't have is the epicenter, but I mean, given the rate at which Ice is hitting them this game, I don't think they're particularly counting on it. The Blink Crush comes, but Black barely getting clipped. There's no follow damage just yet. He does drop fairly low during this time. He says no, get the hell away. Black is angry, out for vengeance. BKB, auto-attacking and just chewing through Clutch Gamers. And that's it. FACELESS take it. They finish the job. Black ends it with an Ultra. It felt like this game was decided pretty damn early, Luby.
I think the pick that decided it was actually Nuts' Spear Breaker. Like, he was just everywhere in every single fight. And the charges in team fights, he wasn't charging the guy that they were focusing. He's charging the back line. So that charge became almost like a Burrow Strike or even a Ravage at some point. So it will surprise me greatly if this hero isn't banned out, because FACELESS, they first picked Spirit Breaker themselves. They have a lot of confidence in this hero, and I think Clutch Gamer needs to make a rapid adjustment.
Well, high fives and a lot of positive emotion here for FACELESS, who are still really looking for a big performance at any event. As a team, the lineup had, a lot of hype around it coming into the tournament, but the past few events, we haven't seen them deliver. This could be the start, at least taking care of Clutch Gamers on home turf. But to break it down further, it's back to the panel.
The last pick, OD, seems to have secured FACELESS a 1-0 lead in this best-of-3 series against Clutch Gamers. But if we saw anything for the last 5 minutes or so, Clutch Gamers is not an easy team to crack. Even against that big advantage that Faceless managed to have, particularly with the OD against the Timbersaw, Team Clutch still tried to hold that out, and we're actually doing an admirable job trying to contest some of those team fights.
Yeah, certainly a pretty good sign there, but of course, in the end, a little bit too much once you're that far in the game, and the OD really was the key to all that success. We talked about that conundrum near the end of the draft. What are you going to do? What's the answer that you could find? And the Abaddon just wasn't enough. One of those go-to heroes like the Omni that we talked about, but that OD, a hero that's so classic with those steroids, be it the Ogre Magi, the Bloodlust, anyone that can give you that movement speed or attack speed, and Io just gives you both.
Yeah, credit to the remarkable drafting here from Faceless. So IO is something that didn't see them play as much. You did see maybe jabs with a bit of jitters on the hero, early on, but you could see the effect of this hero. He can go into any of those 3 lanes and either help complete the tri-lane or make any of those mid or off-lane heroes stronger than they would normally be. I would say this OD comes online a bit sooner than you expect. With that Sand King, it becomes a very difficult combination to kill. Sand King with that solo experience or having a solo lane becomes very comfortable. It's difficult to deal with for most heroes. So I love the draft flexibility. I love that they didn't have to show too much with their first 2 picks in terms of laning or where those heroes were going. They were able to adjust, and I like how they dealt with the mid. They counterpicked a number of mids Armel is comfortable with, and with that last pick that we've talked about, they managed to secure themselves a good counter pick as well. So good draft there from Faceless.
Oh, it seemed like Clutch Gamers, they definitely thought on their feet, at least when in the beginning. The aggro tri-lane with them running that Timbersaw against the Bristleback IO. Then they also had this mid matchup where the Troll would actually go against the OD, which I don't think is a bad matchup necessarily. Yeah. Unfortunately, that left in a bad versus Sand King. It seems Ice took full advantage of that.
Yeah, and that's one thing where we've been kind of talking about the value of Nyx versus the value of Sand King. And I think that was a great example of having the Sand King during your draft and that flexibility. That's someone who can abuse so many 1v1s, and you saw the farm just come into play for Ice once they got going.
You feel confident with it, right? When you have the Wisp +1 lineup that you know is going to be very, let's say, ambitious when it comes to the laning phase and what they want to accomplish. You're going to be very in your face. It's going to force some support rotations, or it's going to change up the lanes in some way, and Sand King will always take advantage of that, right?
Yeah, and then if you talk about lanes, how frequently it is that you'll be able to have an advantage in all 3 lanes. It's pretty rare that you're able to do that. You usually need some kind of flexibility from that as well. We saw that from their draft, certainly. And then, of course, the Troll being played by Armel in this situation, not a hero that you usually see where he'll be able to, say, snowball or control the pace of the game. That's not really what Troll does, especially if he's not off to a great start or just getting whatever he wants. So that certainly hurt them as well because their mid-game never really came online the way you wanted it to, and the Wisp just added so much value everywhere.
Looking at Faceless, we say that of a draft win there, but what about execution from them? Do you think they can actually close this out 2-0?
Well, I have to say the big question I was bringing up was Black, right? That was the way we opened the panel. Certainly one with the most question marks, but it kind of helped that this game kind of looked like a pub at the start, right? Total chaos everywhere. There's a Spirit Breaker charging through some lanes, so when you've been non-stop practicing these pubs in your mid-roll, probably felt right at home there for Black, and maybe that's why he was able to thrive, but I was certainly impressed. I had my doubts. So if they can get him another one of those big matchups, we talked about how we wanted that edge in the mid lane. They secured it. To me, that was kind of the most impactful thing in the first opening sequence.
All right, well, Faceless looking strong after a game number 1 against Clutch Gamers here at the Mall of Asia. Can they make this a 2-0 sweep, or Clutch Gamers going to strike back? We'll see after a short break.
Gabby looking to move in on XY. They get the cast initiation at the center position. Very far back. The epicenter comes through. It's a beauty from Ice. Chunks 3 low. The hammer drops. And between the handful and the hammer, Clutch Gamers are absolutely crushed. 3 dead. Going to be 4 once Rappy gets finished off here. It really is a disaster up top, Luby. Yeah, they're on map too much. Does he get any support? Team, where's my team?
Oh, he's baiting. The team is coming from the backline here, and they're going to go straight on the Timbersaw. The hammer is prepped up. Will it be dropped? Oh my god, they're going to get glistered from all sides. Ultimate is going to be committed here from the Abaddon. Abaddon on the run. Again, the hammer is at the ready. Will it get dropped?
I don't think he needs it here. He can just hit him with a rubber mallet, and Rappy's likely trouble. The goose slows him down. It continues to be stolen. A follow-up charge. Nuts knows how to play this kind of Dota. Fearless Sentry Ward. Looks to prep for the epicenter. Decent banish there, trying to buy time while Armel debuts his BKB. He's actually able to lock this OG down, keep him out of the fight. Watch coming quickly. Is this the miracle comeback movie? No, yes. The painful, crushing turnaround from FACELESS just walked the woods, finally joined them. Turns it around, potentially FACELESS.
Me too. Ron, we're gonna go ahead. Ron, are you okay for exam week?
I think so.
You go study, okay? Hey buddy, time for homework. Playtime is over.
Okie dokie.
With FamZone, manage how your family uses the internet by scheduling study, sleep, and playtime. Automatically filter what websites your children can visit and people he comes in contact with, as well as get reports and email alerts regarding your child's online activity. Watch over your child online. Keep him in the FamZone. Powered by PLDT Home Fiber, home's most powerful broadband.
Push, mid lane.
How to win a guy the saucy way. Babe, wanna eat? Bounty Fresh Saucy Tori Karaage. Lean, tender, irresistible with 2 rich sauces.
Push, push.
Babe.
Huh?
With lots of appetite appeal. He just can't get enough of. He'll keep coming back for more.
Babe?
Yes?
Pengi pa.
Bounty Fresh Saucy Tori Karaage. Saucy sarap in an instant.
Game number 2 now in the battle to see who represents Southeast Asia here at the Manila Masters. FACELESS currently sitting at a comfortable 1-0. Clutch Gamers, I have to ask my panel, are they going to be able to pull it off in the clutch?
Who will remain the FACELESS C team? Got him. Got him right back. Tried to get me.
I got nothing on that line.
Yeah, no. That's
All right, then just give us some real analysis, Jack. What went wrong for Clutch Gamers in game number 1 besides the draft? Because I feel like we already covered that from, well, before the game even started when we were talking about the draft and post-analysis as well.
I think they might have been able to try to switch the lanes around as well. With that tri-lane going up in the offlane, obviously you don't have the shrine to fall back on anymore if things aren't going well. But if that lane doesn't win, the Timbersaw doesn't have levels. All the 3 heroes up there pretty much need levels when they come into that mid game to have that kind of impact. So if you don't have it on the Witch Doctor, you don't have the ult. Stardar not having a good start, doesn't get that blink as quickly, doesn't get the amp. And then Timbersaw, of course, without the levels. It was a decent lane, but not good enough for them. They had to win that resoundingly. So maybe you switch up the lanes a little bit, or switch up the heroes so that you're not having such a struggle with 3 core heroes, especially the 2 supports that you count on to dictate the pace of the game.
Right, so other than just like the heroes in the draft, it kind of felt like the calls, the audibles that need to be made very quickly, because that last pick, we were talking about how much of an impact that very last pick was going to have on the whole game. Maybe they didn't feel like they had enough time to really focus on like how these lanes are going to go, and once the lanes finally got set up, they're in this bad spot, and no one's like able to make that decision of, okay, what are we going to do, guys? Like, how do we handle this? Because there's just a Spirit Breaker charging across all our lanes, and they're just going all over the map there from FACELESS. And I have to say, I thought that Spirit Breaker did a ton of work that game, and it was opened up extremely early. I mean, it was their first pick here with the 2-3. So it'll be interesting to see if we do indeed end up with the 2-3 pick coming out here from Clutch Gamers and how that affects our draft.
What about our Wisp? It seemed like the Wisp is a hero that shores up the laning phase quite a bit and is kind of a wall that these supports want to be able to roam into and be able to get these kills, and then you just find that a Wisp tether solves everything.
Yeah, I think, as Jack pointed out, not something FACELESS have shown much at all. In terms of recent games, they were banning it up against EG right here at the Masters, and a very standard thing to do, of course, against such a team. So probably just something they weren't quite ready for. I could definitely see it taken away very early here.
Also, if you're playing against a Wisp and you don't have something that, say, gets that quickly to the back line to cut them down, or you are behind on items and burst, you don't have that much damage to take targets down before the Wisp starts to take effect in terms of repositioning them in the fight or taking them home or coming in to provide that heal, then that sustain becomes too much to deal with.
All right, well, instead they ban away what is the best pairing with the Wisp, it seems. The Bristleback and Clockwork being taken out. FACELESS, immediate Spirit Breaker. Jack, you and I talked about this hero all day and all night long at Star Ladder. We just didn't get to see any love. Seems like FACELESS, they've got a special place in their heart for this Space Cow.
Yeah, we see this hero commonly in CIS. I think we mentioned that a little bit in Star Ladder. And just against this team specifically, knowing that they like to be so active, FACELESS being able to run that both to counter gank and to pressure mid themselves. And also, you saw this last game, functioning in that tri-lane. This is a hero that's obviously very durable, takes a lot to bring down. So if you're kind of scrapping it up in a tri-lane, as we saw at the start of last game, he's got decent presence there as well.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of confidence growing with it too, because I actually thought that coming in with the first pick overall, FACELESS this time, despite the success of the Spirit Breaker, I was kind of expecting them to opt in towards that Slider, something that they did use up against EG. Although it didn't go too well, it is something that they've been successful with in the past. Then it's also a deny pick away from Clutch Gamers, as it's a hero they like to use too. But I'm enjoying seeing it once again here. I thought his rotations were completely on point.
I'd expected Bristle to be something that they considered banning in the first game too. Like a hero obviously that's benefited in many ways from this patch. We're seeing so many teams use him to anchor that early push as that early lane presence. In this case, a hero that obviously FACELESS can play on different players as well. It doesn't have to be Ice. So just a high value hero for them if they don't plan on running it themselves.
Well, there's a hero that buoys up the laning phase quite a bit. Treant Protector. Thought this was too strong of a hero to give away when we were watching the NP versus Secret series earlier, and it seemed like Secret did agree with us. In that third series, they banned away the Treant Protector in that 1-2. We're also going to see the Troll.
Yeah, definitely won one of those games for them with the Treant Protector there. We have Global versus Global, Charge versus Armor. and just being replaced by the Bristleback here in the first phase. And although we talked about maybe taking out the IO a little bit earlier, yeah, they're not going to run that risk. They don't want to take it away in that second phase. You know, yeah, you're going to take away the Bristleback, but we already showed for the majority of that game, I'm helping out Black. He's running this IO OD, and much like we talked about Ogre and Magnus and how their hero pools allow them to have all these different combinations that you can't really ban it out, IO has a lot of the exact same similarities. There's just so many different pairings. You've got your Ursa, your standard Tiny or something like that. The Sven is still a very strong hero.
What if Clutch gamers don't actually try and force themselves on a Faceless too early on the laning phase? What if they don't try and attack this Wisp lane? Because they have a defensive hero of their own, the Treant Protector. We've seen many other teams try and address the Treant Protector problem and the living armor that he gives at this global range by being able to get heroes like Darkseer, like Jakiro. Heroes that are currently being ignored by Faceless. They just locked into their own draft and feeling that Wisp is just that strong.
It could be a bit scary if they see that coming kind of in the future of the draft there from Clutch Gamers. If they spot that, okay, maybe Faceless don't want to be that aggressive and they try and hold back. Well, what if Faceless say the same thing? They start stacking up. This IO doesn't have to be too busy. We have the minute camps now. Of course, we don't know how IO can go with that. And then maybe they grab themselves a Sven. They get crazy farm too. So it certainly is an option there from Clutch Gamers. They just have to see how Faceless will respond. Definitely agree with taking care of that Sand King. We saw plenty of plays with the 2-man burrows, 3-man burrows, and then he just uses someone else, and suddenly your entire team is disabled by one guy.
You mentioned natural pairings with the Wisp. They could go in that Sven direction and say take advantage of the jungle that teams may not want to as much fast-paced of a game. But then you talk about some other heroes, Tiny, that we've seen Black play, CK that we've seen, to be able to have both the lane presence and give them that early tempo. It's a possibility for them now, especially with the switch-up of the players and positions too.
Sven was certainly one of the few heroes that's managed to stand against the Troll Warlord in this tournament. You feel like Chaos Knights can actually deal with him?
It depends on how much else there is in terms of AoE on the team, more than likely. But if he's like the only one, like, yeah, okay, maybe you can disarm these illusions for a bit, but that's definitely not wave clear. So certainly, I could definitely see that in terms of the CK. I think Ursa's probably the scariest one that's left. We saw it 5th band here, but they do have a 3-4 situation here that Faceless could potentially take a look at what Clutch have, see if they have any better answers. The root is already somewhat of an issue from the Treant Protector, but also pretty poor in terms of harass against the bear.
And Tree here we've talked about extensively has really started to, ever since he's batted back into Captain's Mode, has had a huge footprint on the game, both offensively and defensively, not just protecting your towers and use sometimes in very defensive lineups to help you hold objectives and not lose as much, but also the offensive potential in a tri-lane, in a strong lane, being able to, say, harass a mid, being able to just get to that back line with the 90 base damage and threaten the supports, or with the root now instead of a stun. It still fills the same basic function offensively too, so interesting to see how Clutch does that. We did see Secret run Tree as part of a tri-lane, and they certainly respected the power of the hero, so let's see how Clutch uses it this game.
Yeah, now they're going to have that offensive option, the Ion Shell onto the Treant Protector, can give him that capacity in the lane to really dish out some damage, and again, they can maybe play a little bit more of a passive game. This is a hero that does fit the sustain build, much like the Omninate, the Abaddon we talked about, but he actually has some control elements coming from him with the skills on the Darkseer. He builds up that mechanism, and it allows you to snowball if you have the chance, or allows you to just farm up very heavily and split push if that's what Faceless is going to give you. But we will get ourselves the first Bat Rider of the series here, another classic IO pairing, and can kind of be this this other secondary hero that gets paired. He's not the main guy, but IO shows up in your lane, gives you that move speed boost. You can do a ton of work in lane.
Yeah, this hero is one of the risers of this patch as well. If we expect teams to be running stronger lanes, Bat Rider certainly fits that mold. He threatens some of these melee cores that are very popular, and then of course with kind of the natural counters against the Treant Protector as well. And then you mentioned with the Wisp pairing, something that we'd seen, say, Newbie run quite a bit last year, can be a really, really strong dual lane for them.
Admiral Kunkka now giving you a nice team fight combination. The Darkseer Vacuum, Kunkka Boat. They also needed to be able to get a little bit more lockdown, right? With Darkseer not giving the most amount of disables from the offlane position, especially in comparison, and Troll Warlord not really giving a whole lot either. You just had sort of the Treant Protector ulti. Now you've got X, Torrent, and Boat to work off of, and somewhat of a counter to Wisp as well as Bat Rider.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect, right? They come in with this initiation. If you manage to get the X just in time, we've seen it counter out quite a few disruptors to their dismay, which has been very enjoyable so far in the tournament. So I'm going to try and do his best impersonation here when there's relocates flying through, or just the lasso trying to drag his allies away. Man, what a mid-focused draft it's been through both games. We're dishing out all of these heroes. There's a few more left this time, but we're now going to lose our Shadow Fiend, OD and Lena also taken.
Definitely seems like Faceless really need a building hitter. Their final pickup here with the Juggernauts. Usually, you don't want to see a single core Juggernaut, right? Particularly against this troll. So you're looking to either end the game pretty quick with your mid or some sort of scaling mid, perhaps. But don't feel like you want to take that risk.
Faceless probably thinking about a Quap or Puck here, and then Clutch has kind of left both those options for them on the table with that last pick of this draft. But we also mentioned some Troll and Juggernaut as a matchup. Jug does have some options to be able to get out from under the soft disable and soft control that Clutch Gamers has, but he does not want to be spinning for the most part, especially later against the Troll. So that'll be an interesting matchup to watch if he can get a good start and really not be afraid of the Troll throughout the early mid-game.
Yeah, it definitely feels like if you're picking the Juggernaut into these kind of heroes, that they must, I would think, have a plan to start going very early once again, much like last game. Not necessarily getting these bigger items going. I mean, they have a Spirit Breaker, so that's kind of a given that they're looking to be aggressive, but any of those, even like some of those crazier building hitters like a Dragon Knight or something like that, aren't totally out of the picture here.
It's Faceless who actually are the ones banding away the puck. We'll see if they pick up that tempo controller in the Queen of Pain as you suggested. Maybe it's Clutch Gamers who would like to have that. They could still have the Troll safe lane. Trent, I wanted you to give me one safe lane hero and one mid hero for Clutch Gamers.
Oh, okay, if we have our Troll situation. I'm kind of feeling the pressure of that push coming in. Maybe the Darkseer, he's rotating in. Perhaps he's not quite rating time. Certainly looks like it's going to be a ranged hero, whoever that comes from.
You like Weaver?
Weaver's not too bad. I think anyone who has that high mobility when the relocate comes in is what you want. But they got to be survivable now against the IO Tiny Classic. Weaver's a little scary at this point.
Yeah, it certainly is. Jack, you got any ideas there?
Well, just to word on the Tiny, I think we last saw them run this in the third game of the Kiev Major against OG. This is something that most likely Black will play, so we'll see if he can control the pace. I think they're still going to consider going with a Queen of Pain here. Not a ton of hard lockdown coming out on the side of Faceless, and if they want to roam, obviously, with that strong bullying potential mid and snowball potential, I think it's still a good pickup for them here.
Looks like a pick after pick kind of game here for Faceless. Just looking for lassos, looking for blink initiations from the Tiny, or perhaps you can just skip over it, of course, with the IO. But either way, it's just instantaneous nukes bringing people down. Saves, they're in a way there, but it's Living Armor and it's Kunkka's Rum. These are not two kind of buffs for your heroes that really do anything against super heavy burst.
They can go a totally different direction here as well if they want to get something like I was going to say Medusa, but here's the Ember.
I liked your Deuce's suggestion. I was going to go for that as well, but instead we pick up the pace a little bit for Clutch Gamers, grabbing the Emperor Spirit against a Tiny Wisp and a Juggernaut. It seems like our Ember Spirit really needs to have a strong laning phase, otherwise Faceless may just run over Clutch Gamers and control the game and play that pick game you were talking about with the Bat Rider.
This is a hero that Armel, I have seen him succeed on, and it's actually has put up some of the best Ember performances I've ever seen. Now, those are online games, of course, not against teams of the highest caliber and stuff, but certainly something that he's very technically capable of. And I think in a lineup where you're forced into those momentum-based styles, where you have to, like, every time the cooldown's up on Lasso, you kind of feel this pressure. Like, you want to go, you want to kill this guy. I really like Ember in those situations. I think that's why they've gone for it here. You're going to have that time. If you're going to win this game, it's going to be by dodging that out, dragging this out a little bit, and that classic Clutch Gamers that we're talking about. And yes, the shrines are gone. Things are a little harder up on that high ground to do it, but I can see Clutch Gamers taking this one.
We saw reminiscences of it in that first game. I was
almost
thinking when
there.
they were sitting in that mid lane, I was like, this is like Clutch Gamers every single time I've seen them, where they just hold and hold and hold and wait for that mistake. Jack? Last prediction goes to you, sir.
I like the synergy coming out from this Clutch Gamers draft. I think there's a lot of pressure, as you mentioned, on Faceless to use their ults to the maximum potential and always be able to control that game. So I actually like Clutch Gamers this time.
All right, looks like our panel's feeling a lot more comfortable with Clutch Gamers in game number 2. But can they actually close it out? Can they make this a 1-1 series? We pass it off to LD and Luminous, as well as everybody on stage. Enjoy the beautiful hype that comes with your Filipino casters.
It really is beautiful hype, Bloomy, and this is a beautiful match. Clutch Gamers, the panel believes in them now. Do you believe in them, though? That is my question.
It's not whether I believe in them, it's whether they believe in themselves. Because we talked about them, they are young, they are inexperienced, and they just got thrashed.
That's deep, man.
Thank you. Not as deep as DL deep.
Hey, coming from me, it means a lot, right?
Thank you.
But Tiny IO, man, this is something we have not really, like, teams have tried to experiment with the Tiny, or it's that a la carte Tiny era, But FACELESS trying to bring it back. Do you think Tiny IO is going to work?
I think so, especially look at the mid lane matchup. It's an Ember Spear. What the hell is Ember going to do against Tiny IO? So I think we're going to definitely see probably a double mid lane here, and Treant has to be there because I don't see Kunkka being enough to help out that lane there.
I think if you look at where Tiny really started to struggle in Dota, I trace it back a lot to the introduction of raindrops. That's where the hero really started to fall off because comboing him down, just like getting those instant kills became a little more difficult. Combine that with Flame Guard and Living Armor, if they play this game well, I could see them struggling to finish. So for FACELESS, it will be important to be coordinated when they go for kills and make sure that they're very surgical about it. Otherwise, suddenly, you get the surge, he's able to remnant out, he gets that extra living armor, he gets X'd back. There's a lot of ways to reset fights, and potentially the turnaround potential, I think, for clutch gamers can't be underestimated.
For the most part, I do agree with you, especially about the raindrop point, but I do have to add, raindrop delays your item progression, right? Especially for a hero like Ember, who is normally expected to lose the lane but come back in the mid game with the triple remnant gank. Delaying your Veil is actually a pretty big part of that, so... Well, we'll see. So far, he's the low man going to the mid lane right now, and I do not enjoy, or he won't enjoy how the lane's going to go for sure.
Yeah, for him, just more about getting experience, and with the extra creep in the lane should serve him well. Will also be nice for jabs.
Yep. The hard thing about this melee matchup is that Black's going to walk up to you.
And he's going to hit you.
What are you going to do? Are you going to back off? If you don't back off, you're going to get hit and toss back. And toss back into a tether slow, that is going to be a lot of problem for you. So moving forward, Armel needs to make some sort of adjustment.
Definitely wants to play it defensively. At the same time, though, there will be openings elsewhere, and they're going to start here in the top lane with the double Ion Shell prowess of a tree. That looks like a pretty good lane for clutch gamers, something that they should be able to at least free farm on the Darkseer, potentially find kills. Be it the Jug, a bit hard to bring down, but some kill potential here on the Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, the really nice idea about the top lane is that if you keep putting a lot of pressure there, you force the Spirit Breaker to stay in the lane. And a Spirit Breaker that's not charging everywhere is a Spirit Breaker that's, well, not really in a good game.
And even if he rotates, the creeps are probably at the tower, meaning that it's a lot more obvious he's ganking because of the Ion Shell pressure. So either way should limit his effectiveness in the laning stage, but Nuts might find a way. Yep. You never know.
I mean, the other factor is that once Fly Solo gets some levels, Living Armor is going to be a pretty good defensive tool. Last time we saw Clutch Gamer getting out-rotated. Like, their heroes are just not responding fast enough. And having that insta-global +1 essentially from the tree is going to be quite good.
They do have the Sentry here, so they know that they have the vision supremacy as they're going to quickly eat into Nuts and force him back. XY also getting pressured. Sure, you've got the Blade Fury to deal with the Ion Shell, but don't want to be blowing it prematurely if you don't have to. So the big win, obviously, for FACELESS is mid. 12-3 on the Tiny, getting decent experience already on the IO. But the trade-offs are certainly coming elsewhere. As we can see, Troll's still doing pretty well in the safe lane. Thoughts on the safe lane Troll and this adjustment? And Clutch Gamer's definitely showing some versatility with their ability for multiple heroes to play the Troll.
Yeah, I mean, we saw from last game,
Troll... multiple players, I should say.
Troll doesn't want to play from behind, and I don't think he'll play from behind this lane. There are some solo kill potential here from Ice, especially if the Kunkka is not there. But I think that's more of a mistake coming out from Gabby, which I don't expect him to make there.
Now it's XY's turn to get a little love from the tree. It's that quick punch. Rappy still farming freely and is limiting the Jugs farm a lot. Only 5 and 2 CS. I mean, Jug is thought of as like a quote-unquote like Darkseer counter because Blade Fury's so good against Ion Shell. Tough to kill him. And he's got the Healing Ward to stay in lane. But he is not farming at all. And Jug's certainly a hero that needs quite a bit to really be a threat.
I mean, I think Jug does fine against Darkseer, assuming it's a 1v1, which is not the case here.
But there's a tree.
Yeah, trees. There's a toss back.
Decent toss back, but Armel able to withstand it. Gets the living armor. Flame Guard on cooldown. That's always the scary window as an Ember where you can get punished.
And that window's smaller because of the living armor. So yeah, I think he's gonna be fine in that lane. And once you get the level 6 on the Ember, the table has turned, because that is the burst damage that you need to kill the IO in the fight.
And the IO has to be very careful, especially since there's a tree. Can always be cut out. But here comes the charge on the mid lane. They're going to find Armel. They toss him just straight up and down, not back. But they have the firepower. Nuts not even really needed for that guy, actually. So, well, in theory, the lane's pushing in, and you can see the Spirit Breaker rotation. In practice, Nuts still finds an angle.
Yep. The other thing about that one, I believe Armel played a little bit too aggressive when Living Armor is down. Level 1 Living Armor has a long cooldown. Like, it just barely came back up just now. So I think without Living Armor available, he needs to respect
Like
the fact
hug
that...
the tower.
Yeah, you hug the tower or you play relatively far back.
That's a good point. Probably almost certainly would not have died there had he done that, but the duel over the bounty rune going the way of Faceless as they will grab 2 for now. And Jab's able to secure a DD rune. So, I mean, Freeform Tiny, how well equipped do you think Clutch Gamers are to deal with a Tiny who's just having his way in the laning stage? Is this a hero they match up okay against later on with the IO?
I think so. Living Armor is going to make those insta-kills that you kind of mentioned like a little bit harder. But once Black finds a quick blink, and given his early great start, he is going to find a quick blink. In combination with him and Spearbreaker, they're going to be roaming around the map and put a lot of pressure on Clutch Gamers.
Now, charging in on top, he's going to make the move on Rapier. Just kind of wants that free trip back to the lane. FlySolo doing it out with XY. They're not really combining their efforts too much here. Faces with a small victory in that particular duel. But yeah, the pressure just continues. Armel has to slide his way out of this one, but he gets caught by the tether, so tossed up and down. And down again he goes. Starting to really fall behind that DD rune for Jabs. I think giving them the extra bit of burst they needed to secure that kill.
Ooh, nice body block coming out here. Tower helping out, but I don't... Oh, maybe one more?
Oh, FlySolo. Big plays for him. And now he's looking for XY. Has to spin away. Oh, FlySolo could chase this one if he can just get one more auto attack off. Oh, no, doesn't quite have the distance. Man, if he gets a double kill as Tree, that would have been colossal. They have made a rotation operating the Kunkka up top, so seems like they might be trying to make it go on the Jug, who does not have mana for Blade Fury. Does XY have a Mango or any mana? Yeah, he does have the Mango, so he could potentially Blade Fury Mango out of this. And Tree's actually going to leave. The Kunkka starts to roam, so Clutch Gamer is starting to break down the laning phase, even only 6 minutes in.
Yep. But, you know, this game has been a much slower pace compared to game 1, right? I think that actually helps out Clutch Gamer in the sense that they're not just getting routed like the first 5 minutes like they did last time. And this gives them more room to think, more room to adapt. And for, again, a very young and experienced LAN team like this is very important to them, I think mentally at least.
They are getting crushed in the CS department here pretty heavily, though. Faceless even on 2 of the heroes, and then they've just got that whopping, you know, like 20 last hits, 15 denies advantage in the mid lane. Yeah. So,
I mean, that's expected. Like,
that is a concern.
When you go solo against IO Tiny mid, that's always going to happen.
Right. It's more like they're not really making up for it elsewhere. Jug is still matching the Troll. Darkseer still matching the Batrider, or vice versa, I should say. As Gabby's going to get caught out in the bottom lane, Faceless starting to get more aggressive, and this is before the relocates come into play. So, already finding 3 kills and looking to make it a 4th. They're going to make their move on Armel here. The chains come out. Potentially the turnaround. Decent torrent there. No save available. Black just commits to the fight, but Armel able to remnant his way forward. And does he have the follow-up damage required? Looks like he will. FlySolo is there for the assist. This Tree is saving lives, and Gabby netting the double kill. What a great rotation by the Troll. Very reminiscent of how Nota was playing yesterday before the fans showed up, and it made a big difference to kind of give that comfort to Ana, who had a very rough start in the mid lane in a similar scenario.
That was actually a fortunate time that the mid fight happened, because Tro just died at the bottom, right? Mm-hmm. He sees the fight mid, it's like, okay, I guess I'll TP there and then give him the assist, so.
Yeah, maybe not planned initially, but end result.
Calculated death bottom lane to win the mid fight. It's fine.
Yeah, he died to bait Faceless into a false sense of security. And all things are accounted for. Still a fairly even laning stage. Only about a 1,400 gold advantage for them, considering how it started. It's not all that shabby.
And all of that net worth advantage is mostly in the Tiny. So let's see what Black is going to be able to do with that huge net worth advantage. The quick blink is pretty much what he's guaranteed to buy. Yeah, he has it queued up.
The good news for Clutch Gamers, there's not like any horribly squishy targets. Troll has decent HP, Darkseer is normally fairly tanky, Ember's Flame Guard, Tree, Kunkka, obviously both pretty tanky. So
and they have the living armor too.
If they just win like one fight against the Tiny, I think you could quickly see him fall off. But we'll see if that snowball kicks in. It's Faceless applying pressure here on Rappy. Gonna force him back. Not the most explosive start for Faceless, but that could change with the blink. And also, to go with that, Batrider presumably closing in on his, although actually going to go drums first, but still an item that will let Ice get more active when those ganks begin.
Yeah, for sure. Faceless getting the terrible information that their jungle camp has been stolen. I believe Darkseer spent a minute or so in there to take the stacks.
So what? Looking at the other side of the coin, we've talked a lot about FACELESS and their game plan. Lumi, what is the Clutch Gamer game plan? Just to like wait for FACELESS to overextend? How do you see them looking to play this one out? Oh, close call. Yeah, but Gabby will make it away.
I think this game, you kind of survive the early game aggression. There is going to be a stage of the game where you can just one-shot the IO during fights. And I think that's the stage of the game where Clutch Gamer will rebound, turn the corner, and take over the game. Ideally, that's how at least this game on paper goes. And I think the team fight for Clutch Gamer is also extremely tremendous with things like vacuum into bolt, into triple random. You have the wall on top, you have the overgrowth. So I think that's the stage of the game where Clutch Gamer can shine the most.
All right, here comes the first rotation. Black, having secured his Blink Dagger, makes his move. Plots a course for the bottom lane and might be walking right into Gabby. Jabs is there in the neighborhood. Blink, Ava, toss, and down he goes, quickly deleting the troll and now looking for a bit more. The Torn was there, but it only allows Boombacks to get a bit farther away. Ice on the chase, diving forward. Toss makes Boombacks go boom. Down for the count, and Armel forced to rotate, but not able to get much done here. Now caught by the Avalanche toss in his own right. He will remnant his way back, barely surviving through this. Still Black in pursuit. He's getting the Blink suit. Oh, living armor finally coming in.
All right. Well, the reveal of the Blink gets himself 2 kills and almost gets the third, so I would say very successful top lane.
And they're not finding the trades elsewhere. XY at this point has enough regen that he's able to mostly deal with the Ion Shell harass. They do have overgrowth now, so maybe some slight kill potential if he gets low. But finally, Clutch Gamers have had enough. They're going to rotate. 4 heroes coming through mid. Fly Solo looking to debut that overgrowth, trying to bait Black in. Can they get the opening?
Yeah, that X is actually not very highly level right now, so I'm going to be surprised if they find the range. Haste Rune might help, though.
It's level 3. Let's see. The other thing to consider is there's a relocate save. So if you go in the Tiny, you better chunk him down right quick.
I don't think you could start things off with like X combo. You have to reserve the X to outplay the IO in that regard.
And that makes things a lot tougher. When,
you might need to start with like fire chains into a bolt, something like that.
They are going to find this fishing Torrent up top, though, and now quickly the relocate coming in. Looking to turn the fight. It's just Jabs on his own, and the boat will be there. Together with the Remnants, they're able to hold the IO in position, bring him low. Can they burn him down? Ember really wants Jabs. This is actually quite a big kill, and now the root follow-up onto the Juggernaut. Finally, Clutch Gamers finding their footing, getting 2 much-needed kills, and might be able to transition this into a straight tower takedown. That is actually huge.
Yeah. Huge is the right way to describe it. They are scrapping for anything right now because of how desperate they are, losing the laning stage to the Tiny. Anytime they could get kills and not get ganked by the Tiny, they're fine. Even if they get the tower trade, losing the more important mid tower, I think Clutch Gamer is okay with this.
Yeah, I wonder if Black was just not in the close enough. Not sure why they didn't bring it, but it could have been a very different fight if the Tiny was there.
The Tiny did have a teleport scroll, so I'm surprised that he did make that TP.
Works out exactly the way Clutch Gamers would hope, as they do have a charge going on in the Kunkka now. Batrider hunting him down. They've got the vision. Barapi is here. He surges himself away. He kind of leaves Boombacks to his own devices, and he'll get caught by the lasso. Coming in from behind is the Spirit Breaker. The follow-up's there. The kill now secured. And FACELESS potentially looking to turn this into a bit of a push. In fact, 5 heroes coming in, so Tiny's about to arrive. They're bringing the pain trade, and Armel could be the victim, but a beautiful juke. Remnant timing on point, and he'll make it away. And waste some time. They could have been hitting the tower there too.
Yep. The problem is they don't solve this issue that FACELESS could just walk up your tower and hit it because they are so underfarmed. I think they can't fight until the Darkseer mech comes online. Which, checking on the Darkseer,
looks like it should be close.
Yeah, very close.
And they want to take this engagement, Lumi. They're not ready to give it up just yet. XY, he's the man in front, currently working on the tower. No detection. Oh, there is a sentry up to the north, but that might not find the tree coming from the south side. They engage immediately onto Boombacks, and Boombacks will drop without getting off the boat. That's a big loss for them. Armel commits his entire load, but it's simply not enough firepower. He gets clipped by the Omni Slash, dropping fast, and now the toss fall comes through. Tiny snowballing onto Fly Solo. He'll bring him down too. Not getting off the boat, not having the mech. A complete train wreck of a team fight as 5 heroes get wiped out. Oh, the timing couldn't have been worse for Clutch Gamers.
I'm surprised they took that fight. Again, I think mech is really the peak timing in the early game, and without it, they just get completely routed. Also, I think losing the tier 2 was going to be an expected result. Even if you don't lose it now, it was so low already that you're going to lose it eventually.
Well, you do have Tree, so maybe
True.
you can
Okay.
bring it back.
I definitely forgot about that.
But you're up against an IO. They might be able to rat it down anyway.
I mean, High Science 2020, but I definitely didn't think that was
It really does. It's like not having the mech and
Right.
not getting the boat off. Tough against the Spirit Breaker. That's the thing you have to credit Faceless for is they just seem to... This hero just seems to really exploit Clutch Gamer's positioning. Nuts has been always able to get the jump on an important hero in both games so far. Now the mech's ready, but when they look to fight with it, they do so from a solid 5k deficit at 14 minutes in.
The other big thing about these fights is that the Flame Guard of Ember is constantly broken every single fight. You have so much AoE damage. Just the Avalanche toss, he loses the Flame Guard, and suddenly you're looking at a team that has what? Both Overgrowth, a lot of great AoE control, but where's the damage? Especially with the Flame Guards.
It's like Ion Shells and the Ember Remnant combo, but there's no Veil yet, so yeah, it is a bit lacking. To go with that, I don't think Troll really wants to run into the middle of the fight because he's too squishy.
Yeah.
Once he gets like a BKB or something, perhaps that changes, or at least something that gives him extra health. But that won't be for some time as he is not farming particularly well.
I think right now Clutch Gamer is in a very dangerous state of the game. If they lose like 1 or 2 more fight, they're back into the game 1 status where they actually can't take a fight anymore.
And in this game, the map control is just absurd. With you have the charge, you have the blink lasso, you're going to have the tiny relocate. If those towers drop and Faceless get down some aggressive wards, you will be maybe not entirely choked out, but it's like only Ember farming at that point. Nice making his move here. He's going to get clipped by the chains, but the charge comes through. Do they have the backup? Triple Remnant. This is the opportunity, and Clutch Gamers want to make the most of it. Fly Solo gets the Overgrowth. It's on 2. It's a good one to start. The cow might get turned into burgers. He will, and now they're turning back. They don't get the kill, though. A huge relocate save. Black is left alone, though. This might be the ideal scenario. They take him down instead. Clutch Gamers storming back into the game. And hell, Lumi, I almost think you'd rather have the Tiny than both of those kills.
I think so too. I think maybe Jabs act a little bit too fast. In fact, Jabs might be in a little bit of trouble. Here comes the Troll Overlord.
Give me a bash. Give me a bash. Give me a bash. Give me a bash. He's not getting it, and he doesn't need it. Pops the IO like a pinata. Gabby making some huge plays, and just like that, Clutch Gamers crawling back into the game.
Crawling back as wait. Fly Solo gonna get caught here. And I believe this should be a solo kill. Drag him on the
He's tanky. He's gonna TP. Where's that Spirit Breaker? Another strike? No, not gonna happen. Well,
charge. No.
All of a sudden, the clutch is coming out, Lumi.
All right. Maybe too early to celebrate just yet, but at least the crowd's coming alive. You never want to hear a silent stadium, especially when you're in the home crowd.
Yeah, the commentators really trying to like will them back into life. And they're responding. So they'll settle down for a moment here. What are the next steps for Clutch Gamers? They are still significantly behind on farm. They got them back. They managed to like win a team fight, if we want to call that a full team fight. What's step 2 for them?
Don't take a fight until Ember finishes Veil. He had a great triple remnant that last fight, right? Did absolutely no damage. Look at Armel's farm right now. He is in Strug Town. Once he finished the Veil, I think you go back for the smoke gangs.
Yeah, he also got his level 10 earlier, so he finally got the bonus damage talent. Combine that with the won't. All of a sudden, the Ember becomes a much more legitimate threat.
I did make the statement that, you could lose the lane as Ember and you could come back with those fights, and he is trying to do that, but you got to make sure you got to have the right item to do it.
As for Black, he's going to transition here into the Aghanim Scepter, so we'll be playing the proper carry Tiny. It's been a long time since we've seen a Tiny just demolishing buildings as like a true one position. I mean, really the Jug is more of the 2 as the game goes on, it feels.
A healing ward, man. Good for the Tiny push. Healing ward.
Actually, it's the Juggernaut. The real fight about to break out. Never mind. They're just going to let them walk away. So Faceless finally losing a tower. Much needed income. Nuts charges in, and with the sentry there, Spirit Breaker knows he is safe, at least for now.
Bat Rider packing a ton of detection. More than you normally would see dealing with the tree, but this is...
Tree has just been such a high impact hero in this event. Like Aoi 2000, probably the most impressive tree of the event so far.
And the hero got nerfed.
Yeah, and apparently not nerfed enough.
This is one of the earliest ags I've seen.
I mean, you guys thought Riki and Bounty Hunter were bad.
That's true.
Now we've got 3.
That's true.
Everyone's like, please bring them back. Anything but this root machine. They're going to storm down mid, though. They do see XY. Nuts behind him. Are they going to find an opening? The X starts it off. The Torrent can follow this one up, and they know he's not going to have a blade break for a few seconds, but Jab's trying to save XY as the boat crashes through. He spins his way out of this one. Fly Solo commits the overgrowth. It's not the best, and now they need to disengage. So as FACELESS force the issue, from the north comes the Bat Rider of Ice Ice Ice. Rappy going to get locked in position. He gets the living armor. He's kept alive for now. Tiny getting into the fight, but he gets focused. For the time being, Black not doing enough damage. They drop the wall atop the midst of the chaos. Armel is dishing it out. He's got the ion shell. He's got the burn damage. Coming back fairly soon. They can continue pursuit here. Fly Solo into the trees. Do they have detection? You mentioned they have a lot, and apparently they have enough. They will bring him down. Meanwhile, Boomback's tossed up and down and beaten into submission by Black. So FACELESS salvage it. They have a DD rune, a miracle DD rune with the Roshan now ripe for the picking. They did have to commit the IO buyback there in order to take that fight, but if they get the Aegis, it's well worth it.
You saw how big of a difference that they had with the Veil. Like, even though they threw out the boat already, which is a lot of the damage, that second half of the team fight, they still did very, very well. Unfortunately, very unlucky for Clutch Gamers, that double damage allowing FACELESS to take this Roshan. I don't think they will be here quickly.
They wouldn't finish it in time. That is so fortuitous. Now Rappy instead is going to run right in after the Roche has been secured. Black grabbed it and has that extra life to work with, and they begin to chase. Fly Solo on the run. Boombax 2 getting clipped by the charge. Nuts with the 2-for-1 special, and now the toss in is going to end Boombax. They turn onto Gabby. They've got the movement speed to keep on going forward. Black can have his combo available soon, and meanwhile Fly Solo slowly getting work down here on the flip side of the fight. Gabby heads to the north, but that place ain't safe either. It's going to be 4 dead for Clutch Gamers. Ice Frog is not smiling on Pinoy Dota today, Lumi. That is for damn sure. That DD rune just really cost them.
I think Darkstar did not expect how quickly that Roshan would have ruined. Now, he confidently ran down, and then Roshan message is like, Roshan has
I mean,
been slain.
to a viewer, it's like, oh god, these guys are idiots. Why are they fighting? But without a DD, the Roche is still, they get 3rd HP. You're taking a big team fight with a Darkseer vacuum, a boat in the pit potentially, and it could be very different.
Yeah, you know, in caster vision, that looked like the C Classic, the 1x1 charging in, but from their vision, that was a great play. Unfortunately, like you said, the double damage was super unlucky for them. And I think all of that tiny momentum they gained for the past 5 minutes is just instantly evaporated. They are again back on the, back foot for quite a bit, actually.
They barely even have that back foot up, so they're about to have them swept out from under them.
Yep.
Clutch Gamers really up against it here. The next round of fights will be big because with those, FACELESS are going to look to eradicate these remaining Tier 2 towers. If they do that, they will have complete Roche control, potentially can threaten to take down a Tier 3 and knock out the shrines, and then all of a sudden you just have no presence on the map as Clutch.
Yeah, I think this game you have better plans from playing from behind. You do Ember Spirit, which is one of the best split pushing heroes in the game. Again, Spirit Breaker is decent against split pushers, but Ember generally has enough mobility. Outplay the Spirit Breaker quite a bit. So even though Clutch Gamer is down right now, I think they're in much better position compared to Game 1.
It's definitely better than Game 1. But Game 1 is about as bad as it can get. They're still farming here decently. It's like Gabby looking to complete that Sanjin Yasha. Oh no, BKB actually. He's going to
By the way,
look for the Magic community, but they still have a lot of control for BKB. Again, another game where BKB feels like only a partial solution.
Yes and no. Like, the control is going to be there, but they can't damage him, right? So his role, the other item he has it on his quick buy is the Blink Dagger. Like, he just want to go on the back line and kill that IO. Because this team, FACELESS without IO, they do lack a lot more mobility and a lot more sustain because of the tether and over.
A Tiny can definitely be kited once that IO is down. You've got the Troll Slow, the Blind, the Bash, the Roots, the X, Surge, change plenty of ways to just like run around him in circles and not let him have an impact in these fights if the IO does.
And IO had to buy back in the last fight, so Clutch Gamer is definitely keying on the right here in my opinion.
All right, well, Clutch Gamers certainly still in it. FACELESS Up 1-0 though, they've got a game to give, and they lead by 8,000 gold. 7 kills as they start their invasion. They're going to move on to Armel, dropping an Observer Ward up on the high ground. The Batrider looks to engage, and they do have reinforcements here. This could be a trap. It might go the other way. The roof comes through. Armel stays alive, throwing out the remnants. Has the blade mail too to keep him in fighting shape. A bit of a thorny one to try to bring down another boat. On top of it all, Black gets clipped by it. One more attack. They will manage to bring him down. It just popped, and now the retreat. Clutch Gamers. Really strong disengage there. Faceless not getting a whole lot.
That could have been so much worse for Faceless. It was a great vacuum. It was a great overgrowth. Imagine if Kunkka was there with a 3-man boat, 3-man torrent. That could have been so much worse than just losing the agents for Faceless. So good deep dive for Faceless, but they definitely did not get what they came for.
Still not losing heroes and getting rid of the Aegis, a victory in and of itself. But now Faceless looking for that tier 2. They do not want Clutch to leave their base. And this tier 2 is on the chopping block. FACELESS, again, always planting these sentries in front of him, so he feels a little bit safer to move forward. No overgrowth, though. They'll slow things down with the Torrent. They don't have the boat yet, nor the wall. So FACELESS, with no big teamfight ults to worry about, should have a pretty easy time of it taking this tower. And fully cleaning it up means no living armor, no pesky towers, regenning back to full HP. Indeed, it will fall.
And this is where the nerf on Trian's ultimate cooldown 2 patches ago is actually a big deal, because the old cooldown of that ultimate would have actually made it had it. And between Overgrowth and Kunkka both, they could fight again. But new Tree, nerf Tree, cannot fight as frequently as before.
He's still a pretty good hero.
I mean, I think Fly Solo is, if they win this game, he's the MVP, right? At least in the laning stage. He kept everything together.
And I think that kind of speaks to Tree's strength, that most Tree games we felt like when the team gets it, the Tree has been the high impact player of the game.
For sure.
So FACELESS working on those 2 towers, and this is going to help them set up for the next Roshan. It doesn't look like any sign of a defense is evincing itself. Clutch Gamers instead rotating bottom. They commit the whole squad here, though. One is going to TP home, and it is actually make it 2 with the Tree as well. So they'll give up the tower, and they won't push either. Pretty big tower disadvantage now. 4 going the way of FACELESS.
And considering you have the Tree, that's actually, that number, I think it's more skewed than normal, right?
Yeah, normally the team with the Tree, if anything, would be
ahead.
Ahead on towers, or even if the team's losing, maybe they're even instead of behind. But they're at a 4 tower deficit already.
And speaking of living armor, I'm not sure how much you could depend on it this game because of the good old days of overcharge Tiny with Ags, right?
Nice Radiant scan, though, is going to scout out some heroes in the jungle, but maybe doesn't see this charge coming. They do have a ward down in the river, so they actually got eyes on the Spear Breaker. Clutch Gamers make their move forward. They'd love to win a team fight before the next Roshan. XY is going to reveal it. He could be in trouble here as the Axes come out. The BKB's committed. Where's the follow-up? They started off with the overgrowth, but they don't have that boat coming through over the top. It finally connects. It's a beauty as well. Drills the IO, brings him down. Maybe they get more too. Gabby's chasing. He wants XY. Can he bash him down? He needs the blind. He needs the remnant. He's got it. He slays him and now turns for Black. Black can't do it with the living armor. He's got to turn his attention back to the Darkseer instead. He'll finally chew through it. Armel's a bit out of firepower. FACELESS coming in, but he's too late. It's 4. It's going to be 5-2. FACELESS just having a bit more punching power come out heavily on top.
Yeah, they threw everything at the IO. IO before that fight had hood purchased. He activated the hood and took way more damage than I think Clutch Gamer expected. As a result, you saw how much damage and how much HP Tiny had at the end of that fight, and he just cleaned up.
It's so hard to smoke into FACELESS because of their composition also, and you couple that with having those outer towers up. Even if you isolate someone, A, like the cores are just not dying quickly, and B, everybody else shows up in like a matter of 4 seconds. So it's not really like a 5v1 or 5v2, it's a proper 5v5.
I think the problem is they found Juggernaut. Like instead of killing and getting a quick pick, he just dropped Omni Slash on your team and delayed it. Had they find Tiny or, I don't know, the Batrider, the fight might actually would have started as a 5v4 for Clutch Gamer.
And that is a bit of a limitation of the lineup. Like they don't have a hero that can lock the Jug down, without him being able to Blade Fury or Omni and at least stay alive a bit longer.
Blink bash, man. You just go for it.
That's a pump strat there, Louie.
All right. Also, I don't think it actually happened that last fight, but let's not forget that Craggy Exterior got buffed.
by 10%. So
That is true.
Troll Warlord, if he's going to be hitting a Tiny in melee form, there is going to be some less RNG going on either way. Depending if you're getting bashed or if you're getting bashed by Craggy. Who knows how that one's going to go.
Well, we've already got Mr. 17% in the game, and now we can have a little OS frog from our good friend Tiny as well. Does make it hard for Troll.
Like, Troll might actually do better in
And the
range
thing
form.
is, he needs to get big, because with the Tiny BKB now and the new style of Ember, you don't have physical damage on this lineup outside of Troll. So Tiny is just God in the BKB.
Right.
Barring a farm Troll. And we're not quite seeing that level of farm just yet. 17k net worth Tiny, 11k net worth Troll.
The Troll being farmed, the other important thing is that the rest of his team's all magic. And
Right,
IO's
exactly.
the IO's closing in on a pipe. Once that pipe activation goes out, like, Troll is really all you got.
It's nobody else is doing anything aside from waiting out the pipe in the BKB.
This is where heroes like Kunkka and Trium really fall off during the mid game. Like, when their utility starts to become a non-factor in these fights.
They almost make a bit of a comeback later on when, you know, the cores have more damage and BKBs get a bit lower. But FACELESS looking to punish. Boombacks was in, and now he's zipping away. Armel also going to prematurely blade mail here and back off. You could just like see how nervous Clutch are. They know they have to take a fight, but finding that proper fight with the closing speed FACELESS have is very difficult.
Yeah, I think this is actually one of the hardest lineup to fight into, simply because, again, relocate, charge, Bat Rider. It's just so hard to find the right target and get the quick kill. FACELESS is getting very, very tanky as the game progresses as well.
You can see the pings by Jabs. It's calling to drag Clutch to the bottom lane and then go back for the Roshan because they have the superior mobility. They have to relocate. They have plenty of blink daggers this game. So they see that bottom lane shoving in. They're going to push in mid, and now back to the pit they go. Clutch Gamers will only have a matter of seconds to begin responding. And in fact, it's already too late. They will not get to the pit in time. FACELESS will grab another Aegis.
This one with cheese.
This is a big one. And so Black potentially with three lives, maybe 4 if you count the relocate, but the cheese will go the way of the jug, at least for now.
Okay. The other thing about that last Roshan fight is that Bat Rider had a gem, and he checked all the cliffs next to Roche, so they know map control's on their side. It will remain to be on their side, because I don't think Bat Rider should get ganked, especially when he has all this kind of mobility items.
And they're going to charge Armel. He's actually got a lot of heroes behind him. Unfortunately, they're visible, so the charge will be canceled. That would be a pretty aggressive charge, even with the relocate.
So the Ember Sphere is queuing up for a Lincoln Sphere, and I definitely understand where he's coming from, but there's a couple of issues. First, you lack damage already, and that doesn't help. Second, charge could break that Lincoln pretty consistently and easily anywhere he wants, so...
Yeah, in theory, as soon as you get charged, you just Remnant away, but he just keeps on charging you. You're not actually farming all that much, so...
It just feels like...
It seems nice, but you'd sure love to have a damage item now with FACELESS threatening for high ground.
Here comes the Tower Siege. My goodness. Backdoor protection.
It's been a while, Lumi. The Rock wielding a pretty big stick and going to work on the tier 3. Quickly chunking it down. They are going to commit the X here. They find Nuts from the side, but the last is there to interrupt this engagement. Now the back he comes through the wall, gets deployed. Armel a bit slow to drop these remnants, so blade mail forward. They're not getting enough damage out. Nuts is able to survive through it. Black's not even hitting anyone, and still Clutch Gamers are losing this team fight. Armel's got to jump away courtesy of the remnant. The BKB's blown. This is not the best way to start the fight. Can they get some amazing bash RNG? They'll sure need it. BKB wears off, and FACELESS now can turn back for objectives. It's not a good start. Clutch Gamers are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, all of their ultimates are on cooldown. I'm not sure how many remnants the Ember Sphere have left. I imagine only like 1 left. So they actually just cannot make the defense.
So they're going to lose 1 lane, but Tony looking for a bit more. He's going to start wailing away at that tier 3 mid. XY backing off. They might have a healing ward soon to turn things around. Remember, they still do have a cheese to work with as well. Potentially relocate. It's a vacuum into not a whole lot else. Kunkka will respawn, but does so without a boat. So living armor is there, but it's not going to be enough. Armel now, blade mailing and trying to back away to safety. The troll getting wailed upon. He's actually dropping quite quickly here. The blind is what keeps him alive for the time being. Armel jumps in, Armel jumps out, but nobody's dropping fast. Now a fresh boat, perhaps a new lease on life, but Black says screw it, man. BKBs keeps on clubbing. He'll take a second melee down too. And the end is nigh. Clutch Gamers against between a rock and a hard place. They will lose Black just the first time. Has the ages for round 2. XY backing off. No Omni for now, but Black comes back and he gets mad. Will he actually get some auto attacks off is the question. He's been controlled for now. Armel is spun into submission, and now they can last to the troll. They do sit during BKB. He gets wailed upon. He's almost finished off. He gets the blind, and now the roof, but where's the damage? Where's the damage? Where's the freaking damage for Clutch Gamers? They're really lacking for it. Now they turn onto Black. Can they focus him down? He's still at half HP. The IO's going to bring him back to safety. He'll be coming back with full HP. It does leave XY alone for now. The Ember Remnant's a bit farther away. Can they turn it, though? He's just too tanky. They can't bring him down. It's only the troll that can hurt, but Tiny's back in the fold. He's got full HP, lots of mana, and some killing to do. And now it's time for the third wave.
Oh, they could take back once, twice, but not the third time, man. Classic case of just being outfarmed, being out-damaged, out-itemized. They played really well in that fight, but again, at a certain point, it becomes a numbers game.
FACELESS showing that doing it on land is very different from doing it online. As they close in on a Game 2 victory, keeping their hopes and dreams of winning the Manila Masters and potentially getting that direct invite to TI alive. They will knock out the lone Filipino representative at this event. They still got a long way to go here in the lower bracket, though, Lumi.
That's for sure. This is actually one of the most grueling lower brackets. Lots of really good teams waiting for Team FACELESS. And of course, for Clutch Gamers, this is a very valuable experience for them. Moving forward, like you said, they still have a lot more lands to go to.
In a way, this match almost feels like it's kind of training. It's like the training routes for them, right? Because they have a gamut of like 4 tournaments over the next couple of months. It's not a great result for Clutch Gamers, but to me, it's really more like, what do they take out of this event going towards their next few?
Yep, they have the talent's all there. I've seen what they could do on the online matches, but it's all about bringing it together when it all matters the most.
Respect between these two teams. Certainly, they have faced each other a lot. I think FACELESS knows that with a little more experience, Clutch Gamers is not going to be this easy of a takedown for them.
Yep.
So, showing the respect here.
Important thing moving forward, that combo of the Spirit Breaker and IO. I think teams need to definitely adjust when picking and banning against Team FACELESS. They are no longer the same team that picked the same hero. They are going to be a powerhouse moving forward.
All right, guys, are they indeed the powerhouse that Lumi claims?
Well, that's definitely a question I'll have to be asking my panel.